Earth debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, Effie Patriot, Thomas van der Zander, Chris Wouters, Sea Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Names Burley, Jason Hornsby, J Mels 24, Unamento, Iron 26, Endless, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That, it's a request for a continuation? Is that what it is?
What state are you in?
I'm in Alabama. Because I noticed that on there. This thing on request for continuation. And that's what I had done when I was going to court for that accident where they freaking charged me with all that nonsense. So I had to get it postponed twice because I couldn't get to Virginia. It didn't matter anyway because the end result was I couldn't get there. So they just freaking found guilty. Now I got to pay $287 and that shit stays on your record. And then everybody freaking, what do you call it? When you're working for those delivery services, they dropped me.
So if a judgment was made without you being present, you have every right to challenge that. It's called judgment ex parte. So you can actually write again to the criminal coordinator of that court and ask for a rehearing because you didn't attend the court. You were unable to attend the court. Give them the reason, and they should be able to open. You should be able to have a rehearing. But again, all this stuff is just like what Brian said yesterday. You know, if you want to try and challenge it and you don't really know, don't challenge it. You have to do a little bit of hard work and study, and it's quite easy to get out of.
Deactivate. That's what they did. They all deactivated me because once you're found guilty of that in the motor vehicles, that goes everywhere, and one by one they drop you. DoorDash, goodbye. Instacart, goodbye. Whatever other places that I had as an app that I really never started but had them there in case the other ones were slow, gone. It's like, man, I didn't even get into the accident while I was working. You know, I could see if it happened while I was doing the delivery. My goodness.
Sorry?
No, this Captain Edgewise guy, him and Almanator challenging the NTSB.
Yeah, he did a massive dump on, I think it was Friday last week.
Yeah,
Of
continuing to dump.
of about, I don't know, 15. I'm still reading through them in my spare time.
I got them. I got them all.
I'm very curious about the INS that he posted, because it does have a logical diagram specifically pertaining to Earth spin and Kurth, in the logical process of the INS. So I'm just trying to break that down. It's like, as an engineer, I like to study the equations. So I'm trying to do that at the moment. But all it looks like is just basically a cancellation equation.
Wait, what did? Because I didn't get what you got. What is that now you're talking about?
One of the documents was how an inertial navigation system works, and it has the logical process in form with the input of the gyro and accelerometer, and then it goes through a process where the INS has a separate electronic component which determines spin and curve, and supposedly corrects for this in the electronic system, and it gives a formula for both. At the moment, I'm just studying those formulas.
What page was that? Did it give you a page number?
No, because he just like carpet bombed a whole heap of documents. It might not be a document you looked at, but what I'll do is I'll grab the actual logical form, and I'll post it here in Master B. Just give me 2 seconds.
Okay. You're not the host.
Good morning. Mic check.
Got you.
I'm enjoying the spectacle of a helicopter crop duster reloading before it goes back out over the fields. That's my excitement in India.
Go on mute.
Statement. There's no flat Earth troops at all. And I come out with, it measures my latitude from my backyard. Is there any other easier to explain? Because I basically run into knowledge that a simple elevation angle measurement to Polaris is a flat Earth proof. And easily skip off to other things. It was best framework for that. But other than just saying miles are linear, water's flat, and they're asking for just one little measurement of Earth, just explaining that an elevation angle is with respect to the flat ground that you're taking the angle measurement from. Go in my backyard with a protractor and a plumb bob taped to it, site Polaris, and I get the latitude that I'm at. Just from that, I don't think there's a better first argument. But I'm open to something that's different because most people just avoid it.
How are you?
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm all right. I've got a fondness for paying my mortgage, so I've spent all evening buying microphones, which I didn't really intend to do. But given how long the book's taken to actually produce and get out and get sold, needs must. So I spent till about, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock, purchasing things off eBay to then resell them. Flip them, as you guys in America call it. So yeah, if you do see a few more microphone videos with me with a very tired face, that's why. On the upside, the statistics for YouTubing videos has gone up, which I'm very delighted about. I told my wife about it this morning. It's like the YouTube stats have gone up, which means there's slightly less pressure on me to sell microphones, which is always nice. Now, as the case may be, there is a limited amount of pressure that now comes my way from our opponents in terms of the discussion, which is to say, I wasn't kidding. What was it, a month ago, when I said it's all over, the debate's finished? I wasn't joking. Now it's just a case of figuring out where our opponents are deceiving us, either through stupidity or through rhetoric that's widely available to said stupid muppet that might be presenting you with information under the suggestion that it's demonstrating a calculation of sphericity where there are no measurements. Now, my, I don't want to call it disappointment because I'm indifferent to it, but let's just use that term. My disappointment in regards to the lack of Earth curve measurements is kind of irrelevant now that we've got flat Earth measurements. You know, globe measurements that are hidden in corrections and calculations, I don't care about. Like, it doesn't really change anything in the argument. It just means that we've got to be convinced of some voodoo curve that has been engineered in and then calculated back out again. And we just don't understand how fundies with a sphere belief do such things. Go ahead.
Formulas.
Formulas. Did you interrupt the middle of that sentence to say one word? Thank you so much, Neil.
Well, they're saying that the formulas, work on globe, not flat.
Don't give a crap. I mean, we've got measurements now. You know, surface level measurements of flight level. You know, these are axiomatically tied to a flat Earth. I'll say it into camera every single time it comes up. But that's a done deal. If you want to tell me that there's some self-correcting calculation going on, I don't care. Yeah. Oh, I don't understand how a gyro works. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Do you think I don't understand what sea level is? Yeah, I do. Do you think I don't understand what surface level is? Yeah, I do. What about flight level? Yeah, I understand. I don't need any help with any of this stuff. What's that? I don't understand how the Earth curve was self-corrected. Right. You can bore the tits off next, man, I'm afraid. I've lost interest. Earth's measured flat. We checked.
Well, how do gyroscopes work if there's no rotation, Nathan?
You're talking about no rotation. Gyroscopes remain fixed in free space. That's their useful property. So to try and argue, when it comes to this, right, there's a reason Bob Nodell got used as a citation. It's because it's absolutely batshit insane to assert that a gyro does anything than a gyro does. So if you need to suggest that gyros drift, then you're going to get a flat earther to do it. Because at some point, you're going to need to assert that the violation of gyroscopic motion is being corrected for. And when you come to cite somebody for that, you won't cite anybody from avionics because they're using gyroscopic motion for its principal usefulness. Not because it drifts, having corrected for Earth curve. Who's that cited by? Bob Nodell? That's who we got last time. It always seemed so strange that we'd have Bob being held up by the ballers. This doesn't seem right. There must be a reason for it. Yeah, of course there's a reason. Because you need gyros to drift. They don't. If they do, they're broken. But you'll get a flat earther to suggest that a 15 degrees an hour drift is occurring in gyro, so you can appeal to it when you need to say that the actual gyroscopic motion used in measurements is drifting. And then you appeal to Bob, won't you? Yeah, you guys, you can keep appealing to Bob Nodell and his drifting broken gyro. It kind of defies the principle of gyroscopic motion that's useful in avionics, though. Yeah? The ones that we've got the measurements with. You see, with them, we've just got flat Earth measurements, and it's a done deal. I don't need any help with anything else, thanks. Don't need Bob to show me his broken gyro. Drifting. It's not very much use if it drifts. Kind of defies the base principle of usefulness if it's drifting. It's because they don't. Or they wouldn't be useful anymore. Yeah? That simultaneously debunks any assertions that they're a countering Earth curve, because we'd notice. It being the measurements of a flat Earth that we've got, and it isn't. So as I say, you can keep boring the tits off next man, telling him about how he doesn't understand. Me, I don't care. We've checked. It's flat. That's how it's measured. Earth is measured flat. It's just boring. It's boring now. It was exciting because there was a seeming debate going on for the last 10 years. Now you go, what are you going to do? You're going to tell me that we haven't got a sea level. You're going to tell me that we don't fly surface level. You're going to tell me you don't measure locally flat. No, all we're going to get is people who think they're going to debunk me, telling me that I'm wrong, and then going and confirming what I do 1,000 times, like Simon Dan recently did. You can go around saying Nathan's wrong and we don't measure Earth flat. What are you going to do? Go out and measure elevation angles 1,000 times off a flat Earth? You can tell me that I'm wrong, and then you can go to Antarctica and measure elevation angle measurements to the sun for 24 hours, like on screen now. That's what you can do. Because Earth was always and will always be measured flat. Nothing's going to change. And when society catches up with us, they'll be able to say, yeah, we always knew it was flat, just like it's measured. Because it was always being measured flat. Nothing's ever changed. We've had about 300 years of stupid nonsense ball-shaped religion. But it'll soon go back to being flat like it was measured the whole time. Because it was flat the whole time. Nothing changed in terms of Earth measurements for a ball belief. There was a lot of telling other people that they didn't understand. That's about it. Meanwhile, the debate that was created was an illusion of a debate, because the measurements were always and still will be flat once we're long dead. If you're a baller, if you're on the ball side of this, all you're doing is wasting the very precious little time that you have on the surface of this beautiful flat Earth that we all dwell atop. Why are you wasting your time to convince the world of a 300-year-old church-created religious aspect of the nature of the stars created in a model to better predict where they'll be? And even then, the predictions weren't really helping much. You already had logged lights and their movements for a long time before heliocentrism came along. So it doesn't really serve that much purpose. It's just a control system that the church used. Now we've got the information age. You should know better. You should just be able to look at how Earth's measured. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people out there that want to convince you don't understand how ball-shaped these flat Earth measurements should be had they have not been corrected. That's what you'll hear. Now, me, I'm bored of that crap. 10 years of seeing how flat Earth gets measured every single time, and now the balls relying on those flat Earth measurements means I don't have any interest in these idiots telling me I don't understand. Get a life. You've only got one, and you're only here for a very limited amount of time. If you spend your entire time convincing the world of a religion that was already in place when you got here, then you've wasted your time on Earth. Don't waste your time. Flat, we measured. It's been checked. Don't need to worry about it anymore. If you're a baller worrying about us being convinced of some stupid nonsense that you think we don't understand, why? If you know it's a ball, you just be getting on with it. You're not. You're here fighting the flat Earth with us. You should know it's not a ball. Otherwise, you wouldn't be fighting for it to be a ball. There's no need to fight for things that are absolutely unequivocally true, unless you've got somebody actively working against that fact. Now, that's us, not you. But I'm indifferent now and know that the measurements show it's flat. So what difference is it going to make? If I keep preaching this and the Western world religion of a sphere Earth in a sky vacuum remained prevalent, then you could consider my efforts a waste of time. But for the fact it's measured flat anyway, so who cares? Literally, what difference does it make if I convince people it's flat? That's preaching to the converted. It's measured flat. You can't measure it and you'll soon find out how flat it is. Yeah? So I don't need to preach to the converted either while I'm telling you idiots off for being numpties, wasting your life, converted ballers being your target audience. Me, I'm saying, once you know, you suddenly realise how stupid it all was. It was always measured flat. Nothing was going to ever change those measurements. No amount of bull belief telling you how you don't understand was ever going to change Dan saying, yeah, okay, it's locally surveyed flat. Yeah, it is. That's never going to change. The elevation angles used to create the ball that Dan measured 1,000 times, they were flat when they were measured, alleged to be measured, 2,000 years ago. They were still measuring a flat Earth then, and all the way from there till now, we've had nothing but flat Earth measurements. What you got? What you got if you're a baller? Really, think about it for a second. What have you got to tell me it's okay to measure Earth flat and then say it isn't? That's what you've really got. Because when you numpties on the ball side of this seeming discussion, the illusion of debate, can go out and look for yourselves too, and you'll find it's flat too. Then you'll encourage your audience to measure 1,000 elevation angles to the sun, confirming 1,000 times how flat Earth will be measured. Because that's how it's measured. Like I say, what I do from here forward kind of seems unimportant. I mean, the book's coming out, and I'll document the 10 years of research that's got us to this point. But moving forward in debate, there really isn't one. You know, there's not anything I can do about that. You know, my apathetic, indifferent nature can't change. What can I do? Create a debate where Earth's measured flat in every single measurement? I can't create a debate from that. The whole point of the last 10 years was making it seem like there still was one. But like I say, we're in the information age. This is your fault. You don't realise Earth's measured flat, then that's on you. You're the stupid one. You're the ignorant one. You failed in a world that has abundant information. You can check. It's all well and good me saying, it's flat, we checked. Why haven't you checked? You didn't have the tenacity to go and actually check how Earth was measured, so you just decided to fight the flat Earth instead. That's kind of sad. Be like Dan. People should look up to Simon Dan. He decided that he was going to check how Earth was measured, so he got 1,000 participants to go out and measure this. Elevation angle measurements to the sun. I mean, 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex. If it's an elevation angle, elevation's off the surface, level. And that's precisely what Dan measured. A flat Earth. 1,000 times. So did I need to do anything? No. Without even trying, Dan went out and measured Earth flat 1,000 times. He's a baller. So what's he doing? Measuring Earth. How's it measured? Flat. Was it always measured like that? Yeah, according to Dan, he's repeating an experiment from 2,000 years ago, right? Okay. Well, if it's a 2,000-year-old experiment that needs a flat Earth elevation angle to be made 1,000 times, then you're just measuring Earth flat 1,000 times. Now, that wouldn't have changed with my interjection, would it? Now, I didn't have to encourage Dan to go out and measure Earth. He just measured Earth flat, didn't he? So what can you do? You need to convert these ballers. Ask them how they measure Earth. And then they'll give you the 2 thumbs up like Dan did and say, yeah, on a local scale, we do measure Earth flat. Local trig's okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's us measuring Earth flat, though, isn't it? Now, the quicker everyone wakes up to these fundamental facts of Earth measurement, the quicker we can always get to that stage, not always, all get to that stage, where we go, yeah, we always knew it was flat. No need to ridicule people for believing it to be flat. No need to believe in it being a ball based on the flat Earth measurements anymore. We just always knew it was flat. Are you one of those old school religious ball believers? Didn't you know it was flat all along? Bless. We did. We checked. So it's measured. So housekeeping becomes different. Housekeeping becomes any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, formerly known as Earth curve horizons, that are based mathematically on surface level measurement. Because they are. Earth curved geometric sphere edge horizons, formerly black swan argument. If Earth's a sphere, radius 3959 miles, then every distance to horizon measurement can be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured elevation off surface level. To measure a flat Earth to assert that boats and buildings are blocked by Earth curve. So it's like Neo in The Matrix, you know, when he's doing that, just block him without even thinking about it. Punches come into his face and he can just turn away while it's happening because he doesn't care. Yeah, that's me. Yeah? What are you going to do? Tell me that I'm wrong? Dan tried it. What's he do? He's gone and performed ball jitsu and beat himself in the face 1,000 times with flat Earth elevation angle measurements off surface level. They're going to measure surface level, every last one of you. When you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of looking at what we're telling you, we're not asking you, we're not debating it with you, we're telling you Earth's measured flat. Now, you might be kind enough for us to present some of these measurements to you, like pitch data. What are you going to do? Tell us that there's calculated sphere disappearing? Yeah, that's kind of in contradiction to the actual measurements that are on paper in black and white, though. And I'll just go with the measurements used to investigate death. If I'm going to need to appeal to anything, I already knew that we were surveying it locally flat, as Dan's affirmed to many of his audience. Now, like I say, that won't change the algorithmic love that Dan's afforded. Because Dan's saying, yeah, it's okay to measure Earth flat on a sphere. Yeah, because he adds the contradiction in terms that affirms his sphere allegiance. He's allowed to mop up all of the moderate views we, Dan and I, are allowed in this tiny dark corner of the internet that he and I reside in. Now, that tiny little pie that he and I are offered, he gets the lion's share of the pie, and I get the scraps that are left over. But we're both in a dark little tiny corner of the internet, aren't we? Dan appreciating that Earth's measured flat, and me appreciating that Earth's flat, without adding on a disclaimer about how ball-shaped it is after I've measured it flat, like Dan just did. Yeah, I don't add on the disclaimer, so I'm worthy of ridicule and Dan's worthy of praise. He's measuring Earth flat and saying that proves a ball, so he gets praise. Me, I say we measure Earth flat and then keep my mouth shut after we've made a measurement of a flat Earth, therefore I'm worthy of ridicule. Weird how the world works out, isn't it? My birthday tomorrow. Might have a day off. See how I feel. You're going to wish me happy birthday while I'm here? Happy birthday to you, Nathan. Oh, thank you. You're all so
It's
kind.
your birthday?
Tomorrow it is.
Happy birthday for tomorrow.
Oh, thanks. I might do a show. I'll see how it goes. Summer holidays, so there's no classes on. So I'd have to be anywhere as far as I'm aware. Other than Kung Fu and the never-ending art lesson that was today. That I was an hour late for because of a car accident of 200 yards ahead of us. Very annoying listening to how funky and trendy my daughter's Akmals are, or whatever they are. No, not Akmals. Whatever Adam sent them. I've forgotten what they're called. Adam sent them some toys. But dangerously close to be getting called Uncle Adam. Because of all the stuff he sends my kids. Anyway, whatever he was, whatever he's Labubu's. That's it. My eldest daughter sat for an hour.
I've seen those. There's like a big thing for those now.
Yeah, well, I'd never heard of them, and then they arrived in the post as Adam was like, you know, your kids haven't got any Labubus. I was like, what's that? He's like, I'll send you some. Now that's it for the last however long they've been here, 10 days, say. It's all we hear about, non-stop talk of Labubu and how unique the Labubus are with their clothes that they're wearing, and how some of them are unique but not unique if you've got the same as someone else. You're like, oh my God, an hour of this in traffic I had. Anyway.
I seen something about they're being faked already by the Asian market.
Of course. Yeah, certain things that I see get sold on eBay, specifically the Shure SM58 microphone, which is just, I can't quite believe I get away with it. Like they 100% copy every aspect of the packaging and product, and then sell it for a third of the price. And you're like, how are they getting away with this? It's outrageous. Meanwhile, I'll sell something that's actually badged Shure and I'll get some copyright bot, or the equivalent on eBay, come and say, you can't sell this, you're selling a fake. I'm like, it's got a Shure brand on it. It's literally a Shure product. Anyway, enough my moans. Hey, Eli.
Hello.
What you been up to?
Eli, you have any boo-boos?
What's that?
Just ignore him. It's a kid's toy. You're a man in your, what, mid to late 30s? I doubt you have any
Yeah.
boo-boos.
They sell ones that hang in your car. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're for girls.
Oh, you said caboose?
The closest thing I can think of when we were kids is werebears. Do you remember werebears?
No, I go all the way back to Cabbage Patch Dolls. That's it.
Well, we had Garbage Pail Kids. Do you remember the Garbage Pail Kids?
Yes, I do remember that.
Well, the boo-boos are kind of like that. They kind of got a grotesque face where they're looking like they're going to eat you.
Yeah, they're so ugly they're appealing, like the Rolling Stones.
Is that what it is? The Rolling Stones are so ugly they're appealing.
Yeah, that's what I heard some American girls say when they first hit. They're so ugly they're appealing.
Okay. Nothing to do with how good they sang. Okay, fair enough.
Oh, Mick Jagger sings good, huh? Okay.
Okay, well, I'm glad we did this. It's been emotional. So yeah, there's a little bit of a lull. Go ahead, Neil.
To get it on topic, Captain Edgewise and Orminator have not shut up. So no matter what you bring them, they're telling you that Earth is curved.
Why are they telling me this?
Well, they're telling
measured flat
everybody
in
in
the
their little
measurements, though, isn't it?
chats.
But it's measured flat in the measurements. It's because they're wrong and they need to convince me they're right. When I'm telling them, I don't care. Keep your measurements. Oh, you haven't got any? They're just the flat ones. Oh, right. I don't understand how they've been corrected. No, I don't. I don't need to either. They're in black and white. They're measurements of the surface level and it's tied to the flight level. These two things are never going to change.
So 24-hour sun in Antarctica, it has nothing to do with us. It doesn't
Sure, it
make
does.
us in any way wrong, but for them it's a
It
problem.
makes us right. They're measuring Earth flat in Antarctica for 24 hours. So they're taking elevation angles to the sun for a full 24-hour period. So it's flat in all directions, according to their measurements.
I want to know what the problem is, because what I get here is, yeah, we dismiss the observation and the problem it causes and just it's measured flat. Well, what else can we say?
So dismiss the what problem that what causes?
It doesn't cause a problem for me.
It doesn't cause a problem for me either. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, maybe there's some false dichotomy that they've set up that they're telling us should be a problem. Meanwhile, what about the flat Earth measurement that they measured? They think that there's a problem beyond the flat Earth measurement that they measured. It's not a problem at all. It's a joyous measurement of a flat Earth that they measured all day. Wonderful. So what's the question again?
Well, they want to whistle past that and get upset with us because we focus on it, because it demonstrates and proves that you've measured Earth flat. So that's annoying to them. And they're going to propose that it's a problem.
It's better if we ignore the 24 hours of flat Earth measurement made in Antarctica. It'd be better if we just take that flat Earth measurement as read and move past it like it never happened and start asking questions about how we can apply the flat Earth measurements to a ball or a ball Earth projection on a flat map. Then we can see if they work or not, rather than focusing on the very irritating flat Earth measurement we've measured in the first place. All right. I mean, this is why I keep telling you, ballers, I'm not interested anymore. You, ballers, you can take the flat Earth measurement of the sun for 24 hours. It's called an elevation angle. They measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Yeah? That's where I duck out. Okay? You want to argue about how you calculate those flat Earth 24 hours of measurement? I don't care how you measure. After this point, you can do what you like with them. I don't care. Yeah? I'm done. I'm good. So we measured Earth flat, and see you later. I'm off down the bar. See you later. What you want to argue about it, what we do with the flat Earth measurements in Antarctica, the angles that we took to the sun for a 24-hour period off a flat Earth, you want to argue about those, do you? Good for you, bless. Yeah? You have fun. Meanwhile, we measured Earth flat, and that's pretty much the end of this discussion. There never was a discussion. If there was, you wouldn't be measuring Earth flat now, would you? But you did. You measured it flat for a 24-hour period in Antarctica. So there never was a discussion. While you were pretending there was a debate, you were fixing to go down and measure it flat, and then you went down and measured it flat. Now you want to discuss how those flat Earth measurements get applied to a ball. I don't care. You know, you do what you like. It's good for you, though. Fun, fun, fun.
I find it funny that they cited Bob Nodell. Now they're citing Jiren. It says, yeah, our efforts are a waste of time with you. That much is true. Call us naive or hopeful. As Jiren said, he wasted his time. So they appealed to Bob Nodell, now Jiren. Isn't that a little strange?
Oh, bless. Is Jiren now your guru? Jiren says it isn't flat and he wasted his time. Oh, how nice. Does that mean you didn't measure it flat with elevation angles in Antarctica for 24 hours? Did Jiren specifically waste his time measuring Earth flat for a 24-hour period with those elevation angles? Did he waste his time with them? Oh, maybe you can appeal to it not being flat because Jiren said he wasted his time. Nathan says they measured Earth flat for 24 hours. Yeah, because they did. And then I disappeared, not really caring what you thought about that, because who cares? It's measured flat. So while you're suggesting there should be a debate about these flat Earth measurements, I'm saying they're flat Earth measurements, like elevation angles, like this on screen. Yeah? This would be the point you measure. This would be the equatorial plane. This would be the line to the sun. And that is what is measured. What's that? No, you measured it off this bit, off the tangential plane. So what, you measured it flat here on this flat square? So you measured it flat either way? Yeah, I know. Yeah, you have to. It's an elevation angle. There's no getting away from how flat Earth will be and was always and will always be measured. That's how it's measured. Of course it's measured flat. It's flat. That's why we measure it flat. What's that? But if we pretend that the little flat square that we're measuring on a flat Earth is translatable inside a ball, then we can pretend that the angle we measured off a flat Earth works in hell, in a ball. Yeah, you can do that. Meanwhile, what's that? Step 1, measure Earth flat. Yeah. Step 2, call the flat Earth we measured a tangential plane. You can do that all you like. Me, I'll just laugh at you. So step 1, measure Earth flat with elevation angles. But what's that? It wasn't really a flat Earth measured tangent plane. Yeah, that tangent plane is you measuring Earth flat and just believing that a single point that you've measured Earth flat with meets a ball dangling beneath it. We've been going through this for quite a number of years. We've even given it a name. It's called the Dingleberry Earth. Yeah? That's why it's got a title. But that would still be you measuring Earth flat and then believing that that flat Earth you just measured actually has a ball model dangling from it at a single point. A tangential plane. So we understand how you require Earth to be measured flat, and you'll never get away from it. I'll be here standing with my smug grin going, so step 1, measure Earth flat then. And you'll be looking back at me going, yes, Nathan, step 1, measure Earth flat, but that doesn't mean it's flat. What are you, an idiot? No, I'm not an idiot. Just so we're all clear on step 1, though. Step 1, measure Earth flat. Well, Nathan, you haven't got any examples. You keep talking about this flat Earth measurement, but you never actually example any flat Earth measurements. You just keep saying Earth's measured flat without exampling Earth being measured flat. Au contraire. I refer to Simon Dan, who recently measured Earth flat 1,000 times with elevation angle measurements to the sun. Elevation being off the surface level, part of the surface level forming part of the angle, an unequivocal flat Earth measurement measured by my opponent Simon Dan. So I see Dan as my brother now. Same as Dave McKeegan, we're like brothers. We're like that. Dan and Dave and I. Because we all understand how flat Earth gets measured. Dave measured it in Antarctica with his elevation angles. Again, elevation meaning it's with respect to the surface. It's the height of it. Elevation, surface level. Part of the measurement being the surface level. It's one line of the angle that Dave measured to the sun for 24 hours. Dave measured Earth flat. So was he going down there debunking me? No. Dave McKeegan was going, like my brother in arms, down to Antarctica while I sat in the comfort of my own comfy home to measure Earth flat and confirm everything I say. Because there's absolutely no getting away from these measurements. This is how Earth gets measured. Flat. Every single time. So when you want to come at me and say, you've got no measurements, I'll go, nah, don't need to. You can go out and get some for me if you want, like Dan and Dave did. Do you want to go out and be my little lapdog? Go out and get me some flat Earth measurements, like a good little doggy. Like Simon Dan, the good little pooch, off getting me flat Earth measurements in the form of elevation angles to the sun 1,000 times. Thank you, Dan. There's a good little dog. What about Dave McKeegan, another good little doggy? Off measuring elevation angle measurements in Antarctica off the surface level. Part of his angle. Flat. Can't not be. And he can appeal to my videos where there's diagrammatical examples where you've got curve angles. They've still got a little degree measurement, proving that they're straight lines. Unless you're an idiot. Now I'm done dealing with idiots. They measure Earth flat. The idiots like Dan and Dave. Brothers. Yeah? And everybody else who ever measures Earth. They'll always be measuring Earth flat because there's no exception to these facts. All you'll do is affirm what I'm telling you if you go out and try and debunk me. So do your worst. Go out and try and debunk me. And all you'll do is have me grinning down my camera like I'm doing about Dan 1,000 times. So good luck with your globe measurements. You'll come back with your flat Earth ones and I'll point them out to you when you do. Alternatively, you can lie. You can claim that broken gyroscopes from Bob Nodell, the flat earther, are proving that Earth is drifting from gyroscopic motion. You can attempt to do that shit with your own, not with me, because I'll just laugh at you. I'm not interested. I don't want to hear it. I haven't asked you for any of this. We already checked. We've got the measurements. Earth's flat. Oh, by the way, thanks, Dan. Thanks for confirming just how flat Earth gets measured. Thanks, Dave, for measuring Earth flat. Really appreciate it.
I want to
Don't
know
forget
why
that-
they're appealing to Bob and Sharon. Why aren't they appealing to the higher gurus? You know, the ones in higher up in the hierarchy. Why are you appealing to Sharon and Bob? It's the way we treated Sharon that he was finally convinced that Earth was a glob.
You can
The
have him.
measurements should have convicted him otherwise.
You can have him. You can have Jaron. Jaron can be your citation. Yeah? And I'll use Simon Dan. So you've got Jaron, and I've got Simon Dan. Who's measuring Earth? I mean, you can use Jaron's flat Earth elevation angles to the sun too, if you want, like Dave's. But who's actually measuring Earth? What's Jaron doing? Didn't he go out and measure a lake for a K, 1 kilometre or something? Some crap. Meanwhile, Dan has affirmed that 50 kilometres is surveyed flat. We're not talking about Jaron with his bits of cardboard. We're talking about surveyors. People who learn how to do their trade in university and then go and build things. Across a 50-kilometre surveyed section of Earth that's flat, says Simon Dan. You think I need to appeal to Jaron? No, I'm good. Do you think I need to appeal to Dan? Dan hasn't gone out and measured 50k flat. He's affirming that's factually how it's done, because it is. But the surveyors survey Earth flat, don't they? Yeah? Now, Dan, useful that he is, has gone out and measured elevation angles to the sun 1,000 times. And they're all flat. But we didn't need them. It was already surveyed flat before Dan did anything. So do we need Dan's 1,000 measurements? Do I need to make Dan my citation? No. Survey says flat. What's that? It's okay to measure Earth flat locally for 50k. That was Dan's rebuttal to me. It's okay to measure Earth flat for 50k. Yeah, it is. The thing is, you're not realising we don't need your frigging permission anymore. We don't care that you tell us it's okay to measure Earth flat because it's a really big ball. We can just look up how it's measured and surveyed and it's flat because that's how it's measured and surveyed, isn't it? Yeah? You numpties with the ball beneath, you need Dan and Jaren and Bob as your gurus because you're too dumb to go and actually look at the actual measurements of Earth. Now, Dan... can't believe I'm appealing to him in this regard, but it's true. He's actually gone out and measured, hasn't he? What did he measure? A flat Earth. So well done, Dan. You actually did some measurements. And it came back flat. Every single one of Dan's measurements, all 1,000 of them, came back flat. There weren't any exceptions. Now, like I say, I don't need to appeal to this shit that Dan did. He's a pathetic twat on YouTube. We've got surveyors, professionals who are paid to measure Earth and build things. Not Dan. What did Dan the wanker achieve? Did he achieve anything? What came of his measurements? Right, I'll wait. Tell me what came from them.
Well, what they say is if you're saying you're measuring Earth flat, they don't work.
Oh, well, the surveys don't work over a 50k distance that Dan's admitting to. Yeah, I don't need to appeal to Dan's admission in this regards. That's how it's measured. Earth, that is. When they survey it. Now, we're in a perceived argument where it matters whether or not Dan appreciates the facts I'm pointing back out to him after he's highlighted how flat Earth gets measured by surveyors. But there isn't a need for this. I don't care what Dan says anymore. Who cares whether a Dan, the science scam man, appreciates how flat Earth gets measured? I mean, he's admitting it to his audience and then disclaiming how ball-shaped it is. Now, if you're a fan of doublespeak, okay, good for you if you like Simon Dan and you like doublespeak. But you don't have to read much between the lines. There aren't any lines to read between. Yeah, we measure Earth flat for 50k because normal trig's okay, negligible curvature, says Dan. Now, that might be palatable to a ball believer as some apologetics for the flat Earth that's measured. But I don't need Dan to confirm how flat it gets measured. I don't need you ball-believing idiots, to argue with me about how flat Earth gets measured. Nothing you do or debate about will change how Earth gets measured. And when you start looking at those measurements, you might start appealing to how the flat Earth measurements prove a globe. Again, I'll use Dan for my reference in this regard. So what measuring Earth flat 1,000 times with elevation angles proves a ball, that is very literally Dan's current rhetoric. Now, it's going to sting like a bitch when I turn around and say you're measuring Earth flat with those angles. Either you give them up as measurements, yeah? Every last one of them aren't measurements of Earth's surface, so useless then. Oh, they are measurements of Earth's surface level, part of the angle. So Earth's got a surface level then. It's part of the angle in your measurement that you measured off Earth. So you measured Earth flat then. Yeah, they did. Don't need it though. Yeah, it's already been surveyed. It's already been charted. It's already been mapped. All of it. The world, that is. It's already been dealt with flat. And nothing's changed. In spite of the church telling you that it was a ball for 300 years, they still continue to measure Earth flat all the way through the priests telling you it was a ball. Yeah? And they'll continue to tell you it's a ball from the pulpit of science. Their current religious bullshitters, like Tyson, will continue to tell you that Earth's a ball, while the people actually being made to measure Earth and paid to do so will continue to measure it flat. And Dan will continue to apologise and say it's only 50 kilometres as measured flat, though. And I'll continue to say, we're still measured flat then. Good.
Once you say sea level, it's game over.
Yes.
So I'm done with it. You want to keep fighting? You're only fighting with yourself because you're telling me sea level, but you're telling me Earth's curved. So you're in a contradiction. Go work that out.
Yeah, you work that out. I don't need to. I understand at a basic level how, when looking at the measurements of Earth with respect to surface level and the flight level, how that can only mean one thing. It only means one thing. It can only be one thing, and it is only one thing. It's flat. Earth measurements show it. Now, you can beg me to understand how there's a correction for a missing Earth curve that defies the axiomatic principles measured. You can ask me to do that all day long, and I'll just ignore you from now on. Don't care. You don't understand how gyros actually drift. No, they don't. They do, they drift. Bob Nodell showed it. Really? Show it me in this NTSB measured data off Earth. Well, it's not in there. Right? They get rid of it, they calculate it out. Fuck off. You're an idiot. Yeah, I'm done dealing with idiots. Yeah, if you can't read a simple graph and understand a basic principle of surface level, then I just don't want to talk to you. You don't understand how surface level's level. No, it bends. Well, how can parallel eye level be achieved then? You can't. How can you fly straight and level with respect to it? You can't. How can you be parallel in the air with respect to sea level, measured with altimeters? You can't. So axiomatically, Earth must be flat, or flight doesn't work. Flight works, therefore Earth's flat. And I don't need to put it in a logical syllogism. It's described in the flights with flight level. They ain't mucking around. It's right there on the graph. Flight level.
Have we worked out how much drop there'd be in 50 kilometres, Nathan?
How much drop?
He said it. He stated it would be used as a flat plane in 50 kilometres. I've worked it out to 640 feet.
But why? Dan says we measure Earth flat for 50k, and your response to that is to work out how much Earth curve we haven't got. Why?
That's what they tell us we should have.
No, he didn't. Dan told us we measure Earth flat for 50k. That's what he told us.
Yes, but
Yes.
curve calculators state 640 feet drop.
Okay, so in the calculation, Brian, the first thing you do is measure what?
Hold on, I've got to make coffee.
I'll tell you. You measure your height off surface level. And in principle, mathematically, it's tied to eye level. Here it is on screen. See where it says surface level? You need that to measure your height off it. And you see where it says eye level? Axiomatically, that means you cannot bend surface level. Or parallel eye level for the maths that's going to give you a dip angle is not possible. So therefore, we are measuring surface level when we assert how much Earth curve isn't present when Dan, the scam man science communicator, suggests that there's a 50k being measured flat when surveyors calculate Earth. Meanwhile, surveyors measure Earth flat, and that's actually what occurs. How much a measurement of surface level when calculating a dip correction from eye level running parallel with surface level for your height measured off it would infer that there's a distance to a geometric horizon obscuring your view at 1.22 times the square root of the measured height off surface level, doesn't mean I'm going to tell Dan how much he should be claiming Earth curve gets in the way when he, in no uncertain terms, apologises for how flat Earth is measured by surveyors. My job is not to explain how much Earth curve there should have been. That's a feast of nonsense. That's something I want to brace against, Brian. Why would I go out of my way to explain how much Earth curve there should have been there? No, we just measure it flat, says Simon Dan and the surveyors. And the surveyors are measuring it flat for 50k because it's flat. That's how they're measuring it. So there's no question of how much earth curve there should be on the flat surface level that you'd measure your height off to put it through these maths, to then suggest how much earth curve there would have been if I can take it as read that the point in the distance that's realistically an optical dissolution point is actually a surface level derived from maths that required Earth to be flat when I measured my height off it. It's absurd.
Yeah, who cares what they should have? They don't, because Earth is flat.
It's not a should-have scenario. Mathematics like this on screen, that's begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking earth curve maths, do not dictate the distance to the geometric horizon. You can't calculate your height off a surface level with an actual measurement and suggest that your height measurement off surface level, axiomatically tied to a parallel eye level, means that there's a point below the surface level that's blocking your view. No. Earth's measured flat for these maths.
Morning, guys.
What's up, Choco?
Who you?
We've been disciplined.
What does he suggest happens after 50 kilometres then?
Well, after we've measured Earth flat for 50k? Who cares?
Yeah.
You measure Earth flat regardless. If you want to do it in navigation terms, you can draw up much bigger areas of equal elevation that are also measured flat, like Simon Dan did when he measured the sun. So you can draw up much bigger areas of flatness. But in terms of what Dan is prepared to admit to, it's 40k. There's much bigger surveys than 50, 60k. But that's all Dan's prepared to. I don't care what Dan's prepared to commit to. Earth's measured flat when we survey it. The fact that Dan will admit to 40k, well, so what? Does it mean that it's measured any other way? No.
What would they do? Well,
I thought he said 50.
What would they tell us? Oh, it's literally flat.
Your
Would it be
line's
flat
a
over
train
there,
wreck.
too?
Chocolate, speak up.
Sounds pretty good.
Shout
I
out.
think what Chocolate was saying is, sorry, Nathan.
No, you go ahead. And then I'll shout out the super chat after.
I think what Chocolate was trying to get to was the next man down after the 50k would also be measuring a further 50k locally, and then his mate 50k down from him would also be measuring the next 50k locally, and that's what Simon Dan his so-called experiment proved across the Earth with his 1,000 measurements. Everyone was local to themselves, measuring Earth flat. Great.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, but when you connect all those flat measurements, glob.
You have a globe. Please finish that statement. You collect all those. How many flat surfaces do you need to make a globe? That's literally what you just said.
Disco glob.
No, that's ludicrous. I mean, we're measuring it flat, and the suggestion that, well, if you've got a whole bunch of tangent planes connected together, it's got some semblance of familiarity where the argument's concerned. Just take the first statement as read. Yeah, again, read between the lines. In Simon Dunn's most recent reaction video, what is he actually saying? He's saying, Nathan says that we should just take it as measured. Nathan says it's flat, therefore it just is what we measure. Yeah, so let's break that down. Yes, that's correct, first of all, Dan. Well done. You've accurately represented my position, which is nice. Nathan says it just is what we measure. Not, we measure a 40 or 50k area flat. Therefore, if we got another person next to him to measure it flat, we wouldn't have any curve. No. Let's just start again. We measure Earth flat. Sorry, what was that? You thought there was some more to be discussed here? No. The minute you understand, that's not tell me, discuss, debate with me. Understand, like Dan now understands, that Earth is measured flat for 50k in terms of how much he's prepared to admit to, then that's the end of the discussion. There's no discussion beyond those measurements of Earth being flat. That's it. So how is Earth measured? Flat. Do I want to enter into a discussion about how ball-shaped it is? Not really. you've already confirmed that which we already knew, and you've confirmed it based on the measurements of Earth's surface when we survey Earth's surface. It is flat. That's the end of the discussion. There wasn't one. If we're surveying it flat and measuring it flat, then it's flat. It's not like it looks like a pig, it walks like a pig, it sounds like a pig, therefore it's a duck. No, it's a pig. In this case, a flat Earth we're measuring flat. Always, without exception. There's no logical inference beyond the measurements. Once you measure the surface flat, that's it. It's a done deal. You've measured it. Now, if you were to measure it ball-shaped, obviously this wouldn't be a discussion. I'd be saying, well, obviously it's ball-shaped. We measure the surface ball-shaped, but we don't measure the surface ball-shaped. We measure the surface flat. We survey the surface flat. We chart the surface flat. We navigate the surface flat. We fly across the surface with flight level flat. There's no exception. All of the measurements will always show you how Earth is measured flat. And all we'll get from our opponents is apologies or affirmations of those measurements, along with a string of ad homs telling us we don't understand how ball-shaped the measurements wouldn't need to be, as one example. Okay? You can tell me till you're blue in the face how they don't need to show the ball measurements, or that the ball measurements would be there if they hadn't been corrected away so that we don't see them. That's your nonsense, not mine. I'm done with it. I wash my hands of your nonsense. Meanwhile, we've got measurements. Earth's flat. It's done. We're good. We're okay. Thanks. We checked.
That's discussion done for us. Welcome to Flat Earth. But I'd be more than willing to listen to them argue between themselves whether, we're having we measured the curve type of day, or it's too big to measure, or if it's a negligible curvature day. I'd be more than willing to hear them discuss that between themselves, because it seems like they have a problem.
Well,
Not our problem. We're good.
Problem
But
they
in the
have
meantime,
is
they can enjoy the snacks in the back because it's flat.
the problems they have, or they're calling us an echo chamber. Religious bullshit is no contradiction with sea level, just different definitions. There's only one definition of what level means.
How are we an echo chamber when they're saying the same thing we are? From the jump?
That's a good point.
You're literally telling us it's measured flat. Just, don't worry about this curvature we can't find. We're saying it's just flat. How are we echo chamber? You're saying the same thing we are. Are you guys all right?
Because they're appealing to different definitions of level, Chocolate. This is how humanity functions. There are more meanings of a word than just one.
Yeah, sure. Until you get into measuring things, then you've got axiomatic principles like parallel that are required. So in the case of Earth curve mathematics, if you're going to deny the surface level, sea level, is level, straight, then how will you have a parallel eye level to move forward in your mathematical derivation? You can't. The axiomatic principle of a surface level must remain straight and level, regardless of how it gets redefined when it's awkward because Earth gets measured flat at sea level, therefore it needs redefining. It's axiomatically tied to it. We keep telling you. You can't redefine how these things get measured. Yeah? You can't have bendy level. Yeah? It doesn't work when you do your maths. Yeah? It's on screen. Look. Eye level and surface level. Now, for your maths to function, you're not going to bend this, because then it's no longer parallel with this. Now, I understand that idiots we deal with don't understand words like parallel. What's that, bending? No. Yeah? Your maths fails if you bend axioms. Now, I don't, again, have to entertain your nonsense while you want to defy axiomatic principles. You can do that, bless your little cotton socks, all day long. I understand what level means. You don't have to tell me I don't understand and redefine what it means. Because it's utilised with axiomatic principles when you mathematise the level surface into curve. You need it to remain level. Now, when you bend it, your maths fails. The maths that gives you the illusion that you can measure Earth flat at surface level and then have a point below the surface level measured and mathematized with the parallel eye level that you want to defy. It's all very bad for you, a baller, because you need Earth to be measured flat, even for your Earth curve assertions. It's right here on screen. Your Earth curve assertion comes with a heavy dose of measuring Earth flat. You don't have to like it, and as soon as you bend it, it don't work anymore.
Well, even when you say it has different meanings, like if I say to you, come on, Nathan, level with me, you say, I'm saying be straight with me. But what they're saying now is that we're invoking curvature with dip and with stars. We don't invoke no curvature.
So with dip angle measurement off surface level correcting for elevation angles. No, there were 3 flat Earth only sentences that won't work on a sphere because they're angles. But they are under the misapprehension that when we measure Earth flat, we're hijacking sphericity? No, we're just measuring angles off surface level. You don't believe me? Go ask Simon Dan or Dave McKeegan. Yeah, they know how to measure a flat Earth elevation angle. Yeah, they've done it. Just go and ask them. And they weren't angles, so you don't want them to be axiomatically 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex for elevation off the surface. You don't want them to be elevation angle measurements anymore. Oh, well, then you haven't got any Earth measurements. Oh, you like them. You're quite happy with your flat Earth only surface level part of the angle measurements. Then you've measured surface level as level. It's part of your measurement. Earth's flat then. Oh, you don't want them to be measurements anymore. They're just calculations. So you haven't got any Earth measurements. Oh, you have. You've got the elevation angles off surface level that's flat. So you've got a flat Earth surface level measurement then. Round and round we go. Meanwhile, there's only one endpoint. It is a surface level measurement. The surface level is part of the angle that Dave and Simon Dan measured. So they did, whether they like it or not, measure Earth flat. There's only 2 choices. Relinquish it as an Earth measurement, in which case they haven't got any Earth measurements, or accept that it's a surface level measurement for elevation. It's an elevation angle. And part of the angle is the surface level that they measured. Dan measured surface level. And so did Dave McKeegan. That's measure surface level. Feel free to deny your measurements. I don't give a crap. Earth's measured flat. We checked. You checked. Dave checked for you. Ball believers. So did Simon Dan. So it's not Earth's flat, we checked. It's Earth's flat, you checked. I'm going to change the title of today's show. From Earth's flat, we checked, to Earth's flat, you checked.
Well, they're claiming that a sphere is a rotated circle.
Sorry, why are they telling you this?
Wow.
We've got Earth measurements. We don't need to be told anything by these religious Jehovah's Witness types that come along wanting to convert us back to the religion that we walked away from. We walked away from your silly globe cult, and we've got Earth measurements. So we're good, right? Oh, what? You still need to convince us we're on a ball? Why? Yeah? We don't want you Jehovah's Witness style. Yeah, we don't need your Scientology religion of balls in sky vacuums. You, that's ballers, are basically glorified Scientologists. You've got the same religion as them. Silly balls that the Roman Catholic Church gave you, flying around in sky vacuums. Yeah? The Roman Catholic Church gave you and the Scientologists the same religion. So keep your religion. We don't need you to come round to our front door anymore. This bar's still open. You can still come in. Yeah? You can still come in and talk. But we don't need to hear you preach to us about your silly Scientology religion. Your silly Scientology balls in a sky vacuum with your aliens coming from far, far away, galaxies like in Star Wars. Yeah? Earth is measured flat by everyone who's measuring it. We checked. You subsequently checked. Don't believe me? Ask Simon Dan what he measured 1,000 times, and he'll tell you. An Earth that is flat is required for the surface level part of his angle that was measured 1,000 times from a flat Earth surface level. There's no getting away from this, lads. No getting away from it. But stop trying to preach to us. We don't need your religion anymore. We've walked away from your religion just because it offends you that people don't want to be in your Scientology globe cult anymore. Yeah? You can be offended. We don't want any part of your religious bullshit anymore. We don't believe we're flying around the sun. We don't believe an Earth that's measured flat creates orbital motion, because it violates the base principle. Your religion of a ball Earth in a sky vacuum is based on flat Earth measurements that get violated by some of your stupid beliefs about flying around in sky vacuums as a ball shape. We're not. Earth was measured flat to create that stupid, nonsensical ball faith that you keep parroting at us like we need converting back to a religion we left. We left your stupid ball religion after we found out Earth was always being measured flat, including but not limited to your ball religion. It too requires Earth be measured flat, making your ball religion very silly. Now that we've walked away from it, we'd prefer if you stop nagging us to come back. Go away with the rest of your Scientology/heliocentric nonsense ball believers and have a little party away from us. Because all you seem to want to do is come and nag us to come back. Yeah? We're all right, thanks. We left your silly ball religion. We don't want to come back. You might get the odd one or two who can't bear to be apart from the cult, like Jeranism, who even gave himself a very culty-sounding name. Jeranism. Yeah? Well, Jeranism went back to heliocentrism, like Scientology, a religion based on flat Earth measurements. Now, obviously, Jaron, being a religious type, was too stupid to actually measure Earth. Or maybe he didn't pay attention while his compadres over in Antarctica were measuring Earth flat with elevation angles. Maybe he just didn't notice. Who cares? He's obviously dumb. But you can keep him. Now he's come back to your religion. It doesn't mean we will. We will just stick with the measurements of Earth, thanks. It's flat. You checked. Yeah, thanks, Dan, for checking 1,000 times. Yeah, you figured it out now. Yeah? Oh, they weren't measurements of Earth's surface as a level for a part of the angle. Oh, you haven't got any Earth measurements then, Dan. Oh, you have? You've got the flat Earth only surface level part of the angle, elevation angle measurements to the sun. You made 1,000 times off a flat Earth. Welcome to flat Earth, Dan. Yeah? You checked. It's flat. Anything anybody wants to add? 80 people watching. Please smash the share button if you've not done so already. Good.
I'm of the same sentiment. So, great rant. Because it's true. Like, we're good. I'm good. I've been good on all that crap. I don't need any of that flying around and that vacuum crap. Like, are you serious? Why? And then you're going to tell us that and scold us for not believing it after telling us it's flat. Like, are you kidding? Well, who does things like that? You guys sound crazy. So, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it's equivalent to somebody coming away from the Scientology cult and being told that now that they've left, they need to learn all about Xenu. Like, what? Well, you need to learn how, when we measure Earth flat, we suggest that gyroscopic motion isn't gyroscopic motion, it's drifting. And that self-correcting, non-gyroscopic, fixed, rigid in space motion that we appeal to that isn't gyroscopic motion means Earth's a ball. Now, you can go and appeal to the other cult-like followers of the heliocentric religion that utilise flat Earth measurements to pretend you're on a flying, spinning water ball in a sky vacuum. But we're done. We don't need to learn more about our sky vacuums. Just don't apply the second law of thermodynamics to Earth. We don't need to know how we've got bendy levels when we're measuring the surface level. We don't need to know how violated the axiomatic principle of straight and level flight is when flying over sea level, because apparently gyros drift. Now, we're good. You idiots can convince yourself that gyros don't work as they're supposed to, because Earth's a ball according to you and your religion that was given to you by the Roman Catholic Church, alongside Scientologists who got the exact same religion. You can believe that because you are idiots. We walked away from your idiotic cult-like religion of a ball. Now you, half the time don't even believe you're priests of modern times like Tyson, who gets thrown under the bus all the time. You don't even believe your rhetoric of having two reference frames. I can hear Dan echoing out, "You and your reference frames are ruined." Yeah, are they? No, you and your cult that needs two reference frames are ruined when we don't see any effects of drift. So we are done with your stupid ball religion. We don't need it anymore. So stop coming here trying to convert us back to your silly ball religion. We understood the Earth was measured flat while we were arguing about it, and before there was a pretend argument created. Before any of that happened, Earth was being measured flat. While that was happening, Earth was being measured flat. And to create the ball to suggest there's an argument to have, they measured Earth flat to create that ball. So where's the argument? There isn't one. So just bugger off with your silly globe belief. We don't need it. We're done with it, thanks. That it? With that, I say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Right, we'll have a short after show, and then I'm going to go and get some snoozes.
Nathan, the distance from the GP and an angle X, some constant traces the circumference of a circle or sphere. That is why it is linear with respect to angle. The fun part about curved geometries. Oh, no, that's where your error is.
Why are you telling me this? So after we measure Earth flat with an elevation angle, you can draw a distance based on a radial value to a central point of a circle that you draw around the GP with you on the outside edge, measuring the angle to the centre point, that's the GP, where the star is above, on a flat circle. So what this guy's trying to do is take the flat Earth elevation angle and flat circle of equal altitude and infer that somehow there's some sphericity attached to this. What an idiot.
Yeah,
Either idiotic or attempting to deceive.
Have we reviewed the video that I posted?
No, given that you didn't mention it until about 5 seconds ago.
Why? It's a repost from like Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago.
Okay, no, I'll be a bit less harsh then. What was it about? I hadn't seen it.
Oh, well, the title is Debunking Flat Earth Gyro Compass Aligns with Earth's Rotation.
Do you want us to cover it tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay, I can't see it. Who is it? Oh, yes, I see it at the right at the bottom. Who's it from?
Math Easy Solutions, 56,000 subscribers.
Okay. Debunking Flat Earth, what?
Gyro compass aligns with Earth's rotation.
That's not a claim we make. I don't claim that a gyro compass lines up with Earth's rotation. So is it a suggestion that Bob Nodell has proved drifting gyros? Is that what it is? Is it an appeal to Bob? And that gyros don't work?
I hadn't seen it yet. When I saw the title, I was like, let me see if these guys want to see what this is about.
Sure, we'll have a look. We'll react to it cold. If you don't know what's on it, I don't mind.
It was released a year ago.
Oh, okay. Then I would almost expect it to be appealing to the notion that gyros ever drift.
Yep.
I mean,
Look at
even when
this,
they
the
appeal to this
description
drift,
says-
right? This is a drift in the x-axis, right? They're claiming it correlates with a turn of the stars. Now, if you're going to describe the turn of the stars as a reference frame, it is flat. But you're talking about x-axis rotation as opposed to Earth curve, like through the z-axis, like over the curve, like in the calculations on screen. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that when you talk about the axis that they allege a gyro drifts in. So it's got absolutely bugger all to do with the alleged proof that would be yielded from a gyro if it physically shifted in the cage as it actually remained rigid in space moving around the surface of a spherical Earth, which they don't do. But they want to convolute that there's a claim drift that they won't appeal to any avionics manufacturers because they wouldn't put their hat on a gyro that drifted. Of course not. It wouldn't be useful. So who do they put their hat on? Bob. That's why he was useful. That's what he was here for. Shill. Total shill. Here to produce part of the narrative so that they could appeal to it later. Of course gyros drift. Thanks, Bob. No. Gyros remain rigid in space unless they're faulty. Why else would you use them? What are we using them for again?
Now they appeal to Jiren. Eli, you wanted to say something?
No, I was going to read the description.
Good.
I was going to just read the description, but we could save it for tomorrow.
Yeah, you're probably right. Keep it for tomorrow.
They appeal to Jiren and how Flat Earthers treated Jiren now that he came to an understanding how these things he observed cannot work on a flat Earth.
Yeah, it needs to be how we treated somebody in the community, because then it becomes about how the community treats members. Yeah, I don't give a shit how Jiren's been treated. Earth's measured flat. Jiren's just one man, a wanker who went to Antarctica and measured Earth flat there. So does it matter how he feels he was treated? He measured Earth flat in Antarctica. So his feelings, bless him, are irrelevant. Earth got measured flat there, so that makes Jiren's feelings kind of irrelevant. Unless it's the case that we measured Earth flat, and then obviously that would mean we need to make it all about Jiren's feelings if you don't like that Earth was measured flat in Antarctica with elevation angles to the sun for a 24-hour period. I mean, if you don't like them, then it'd be definitely beneficial to make it all about Jiren and his feelings towards a community. Because then it stops being about how Earth got measured flat with angles there, doesn't it?
Isn't it a
good
beautiful
point
narrative?
out?
Sorry, Eli. Go ahead, brother. How you doing?
I was just saying it's important to point out where there seems a little bit of ambiguity that Jiren didn't debunk flat Earth or the Earth being measured flat. He supposedly debunked what they call flat Earth, which is an AE projection of the globe, which is not the Earth or measurement of the Earth.
Yeah.
Or a reification that he's been teaching, so in quotes, for years. That's what got debunked. A reification fallacy.
How could you teach something you debunked in 2016?
His whole crutch was a map. He laid his whole thing on a map, and that map didn't turn out to be what he thought it was. So now he's turncoat. That's a map. That's not the ground. That's not our reality. It's just a map. Why did you decide to teach everyone a map for 10 years? Look where that's gotten you now.
Shit, Chocolate. You're stopping and leaving big gaps. I don't mean to step on you.
He isn't.
You're good. I'm sorry.
He's teaching a map that he debunked himself, or was one of the people that were involved in tracking the sun. Right? And he admitted to that with Waxy Waxy.
Yeah, we can't forget that. That's a good point.
and then still continue to teach the map according to him. Okay, life choices, I guess.
But it's like for the audience, like it's also interesting to note and realize again, they want people to come away with the idea and the words that the flat earth was debunked. But you can't debunk measurements, and that's not what they're talking about anyway. They're just talking about the AE globe projection that he debunked in 2016, apparently. So that's like really all that's going on. And it's interesting because there are all these distractions and not enough people saying, hey, that's just a distraction. Obviously, that's not what we're talking about. I don't understand why more of that isn't going on.
Like we're the only ones addressing it sometimes. That's how it feels.
Keep saying it, Neil, but kind of what difference does it make? It's always going to be flat. And all measurements will always show that. So what we're doing is kind of in vain. As long as they want there to be a religious control structure in place, it will be. And therefore, things like us being censored when we say, no, well, actually, that's not the case. Because they, like us, say Earth is measured flat. If you go and look through YouTube videos where they describe how Earth is measured flat, for sake of argument, celestial navigation videos, they're not getting censored with flat Earth tags below them. The only reason we get that is because we say Earth isn't a ball. Now, the belief that Earth is a ball comes from the flat Earth measurements. Therefore, it's not the case that talking about Earth being measured flat is not incongruent with a ball belief. So long as you maintain the belief of a ball. But what we do, or characteristically do, above and beyond what other flat earthers do, is just point out that you don't need the belief bit after the measurement bit. So you can skirt that line really closely, like Dan and Dave are currently doing, right? They can go out and literally measure Earth flat and then say that means it's a ball. Yeah? Now, cognitively, they can cope with that. Or can't, or they take it out on me, you know, that's more likely what they'll do. But you know what I mean? They're coping however they cope, regardless if it's taking it out on me and saying, well, that doesn't mean it's flat if you just say it is what you measure. I measure it flat because it's a ball. That's why I measure it flat. That's what they're saying, right? Well, let them. Okay. You say you measure it flat because it's a ball. Okay. You're an idiot, but that's fine. But why should I get persecuted for telling somebody who says it's flat, we measure it that way, but because it's a ball, we measure it flat? That can only last so long. Yeah? It's a very, very thin lie fabric, isn't it?
I hope they keep saying it because it's wonderful.
You see, they keep putting this model on us. We never claimed a model. So telling me that Dan measured the angles and the angles don't match a flat Earth model, but factoring a globe works, that's just ridiculous. We don't have a model. The measurements are just flat.
He said, Dan's exact words were, Nathan saying it is just what we measure is just Nathan's way of dodging a model. That's what he said. Sorry. So me just accepting that Earth's measured flat because it's flat is me dodging a model. I should accept that it's measured flat because it's a ball-shaped model that we make with the flat Earth measurements we measured. That would be acceptable, says Dan. Okay. I mean, you can do what you like. You be you. But, I mean, I'm not going to accept that because we measure Earth flat, it means it's a big ball. I'm not going to accept that. Sorry. You know, you can keep
Did
your
he
cult.
say that? Did he say that you're dodging a model?
Yes,
Was that his?
that's verbatim. Yes.
Really?
Well,
Okay.
how are you measuring angles or elevation angles then?
He's accepting that he measures Earth flat for the elevation angles. I mean, I kind of switched off after that, I'll be honest. I mean, when you hear things like, well, that doesn't mean it's flat, you just kind of laugh. You don't recite them and listen to them and digest them in anything other than the nonsense waffle that double speak that they are. Right, so we're measuring it flat, but that means it isn't. And Nathan says it just is what we measure. But I say it isn't what we measure it flat because it's a ball. You're like, you're idiots, as far as I can tell. You're demented.
Now that's the whole thing. How is the world not picking up on this? Or anybody that would just tune in and listen for 10 minutes, how is it not clicking?
I don't know.
Well, to our credit, it's not clicking. They're just not capable of engaging. They're mentally not. Because if they were, we would be having more conversations. Most people just go, yeah, whatever. You know, they don't really listen. You know? So.
Because there's two parts to it. And we don't engage the second part. Like both sides are saying we measure it flat, but there's only one side that after that statement goes forth to say, well, it's flat because it's a big ball, right? And we just don't do that. That's crazy. So that's the whole problem right there. We're both saying the same thing. Every time one of these clowns has said, well, it's too big to measure first. Well, then you measured it flat then. You know what I mean? Like, it's really that simple. But, you know, simplicity sometimes gets thrown by the wayside for paradigms and beliefs. So that's the problem. But it's not our problem, their problem.
Yeah, and they want to project it onto us. So Dan telling his audience, look, this guy's saying it's flat because we measure it flat. Well, you need to understand how wrong he is. He doesn't understand how ball-shaped it is when we measure it flat, and that it's okay to measure it flat because curvature is negligible on these small distances. So you, my audience, Dan's audience, can understand that it's okay to measure it flat, and that Nathan's saying, because we measure it flat, that means it's flat. That's stupid. Do you understand, audience? You do? Good. Buy my merch. Also, I sell coffee and headphones.
I'll have coffee.
I mean, that was like the same video, right? He was basically saying, like, look, let me level with you. You know, for big distances, surveyors don't take any curvature, right? Like, how do you have a statement like that in the video? And then in the same video, you're saying, well, this guy who's saying basically the same thing is dodging a model and doesn't believe that it's actually a ball after that, after these
Nathan, and his book is going to be first class, only on a completely flat surface. I'd love to see Nathan.
What you measure it.
The angle to a mountain or a tree depends on height difference and distance, both are which measurable, predictable, and calculable. If you claim the Earth to be flat, and you can absolutely test that. Nathan's saying it just is what you measure.
On your knees, acknowledging the linear distance, perpendicular elevation, and flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle.
Yeah, okay. On a local scale, I will acknowledge all of that. The Earth is flat. It means you're measuring the shortest path between 2 points. Over small distances, you can use straight line approximations. You measure Earth flat. Dear, oh dear, Nathan, this has been an awful video. It really has. Well, there we go. Another one finished all for today. Please do let me know in the comments what you thought of Nathan's performance there. As I say, we measure Earth flat. We're all done and dusted for another one. Just like we...
Wow. That little statement right there. Well, yes, I will acknowledge for local distances it's measured flat. Can you play that again? We get a J on that.
I've got several versions. Do you want to hear a different one? Rather than just playing the same thing again. We'll go with this one. So we're all clear. Earth's flat. We checked. That's how it's measured.
We don't only measure Earth flat.
Measured flat. There's no way I'd be getting away with it if it wasn't the case. Everybody would be casting me down, but they're not. What are they doing? Well, Dan's agreeing with me. Simon, Dan. It's not only measured flat.
On a local scale where curvature is negligible, 50 kilometres is nowhere near far enough to start using spherical trigonometry. Now, you mentioned surveys. And yes, local land surveys use flat approximation for convenience. Trigonometry doesn't care what shape you're on. It's just relationships between angles and lengths, because we don't only measure Earth flat. On a local scale where curvature is negligible, normal trigonometry gives good approximation. Nathan's saying it just is what you measure. Over small distances, you can use straight line approximations.
Says Simon, Dan. Okay, maybe you could eventually show us some other measurements other than the flat ones that Dan agrees with, locally. Everyone's agreeing with me. It's because this is a fact. Earth's measured flat.
We don't only measure Earth flat.
Exciting times.
Like I say, evergreen channel right up until the point that everyone starts going, yeah, we always knew it was flat. Obviously, like with sea level and flight level and elevation angles off surface level.
Yes, local land surveys use flat approximation for convenience.
To describe the heights of things or the depths of valleys. And that is how we measure it. We've measured it. So we're all clear. Earth's flat. We checked. That's how it's measured.
On a local scale where curvature is negligible,
there are still quite a number of heliocentric cults. So the Scientology that's prominent in America. And can you remember that one we covered a while back, Nathan, in Birmingham? And that guy had thousands of subscribers, and he was the Muslim equivalent of Scientology. So they'll have to come to the fold eventually.
Cults, there's no other word for it, that utilise heliocentrism. Now, the fact that it's a Roman Catholic derivation from several hundred years ago is neither here nor there. It was what was put out to the people as an explanation for the higher-ups, in that case the church, knowing already what the sky is. And when they explained that to the general populace, as I said earlier, from the pulpit on a Sunday, that's how you would have found that information out. Now, obviously, there wasn't the abundance of information where you could find out how surface levels being measured for sea level as an average to map, chart, and survey every inch of the known territory that we've got with respect to a horizontal plane.
So normal trigonometry is absolutely valid.
I mean, that is just how Earth gets measured. It is just measured flat. Again, like I say, nothing's going to change in terms of the topographical measurements of Earth. They always were flat. The heights off sea level. Why do you think we've got an average for everywhere? So we're all clear. Earth's flat. We checked. That's back at the beginning.
That was great. Wow, so Simon and Dan sounds like he's on our side there.
Well, yeah, you can't get away from how Earth gets measured. It just is what it is, right? So if you want to go out and confirm how Earth gets measured, you're going to be measuring it flat. And Dan's found out the hard way 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's why we're thanking him.
Yeah, it's like our brother now. I don't know if you know. Dan and Dave.
Imagine the pain, though, that he's got to go through every time he's got to sort of kind of agree with you just based off reality, but then has to mitigate it right afterwards. Like, that's got to be a painful way to live.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel bad for you guys sometimes.
Horrible way.
That's the thing. That's the trade-off, isn't it? That's the trade-off. So we get to sleep at night. We don't have to stress about how annoyed we are with Dave or how annoyed we are with Dan, because we're not, right? I'm not annoyed with Dan. I don't give these guys a second thought. I mean, obviously, they're the focus of attention when we're doing a live show, because we're doing a live show and it entertains my YouTube audience. That makes sense, right? But beyond that, I don't care. These people don't keep me up at night. I'm not sweating Dan's feelings towards me when it comes to him saying, well, Nathan's wrong. I measure Earth flat, but that's okay. It's only 50 kilometres. That's not going to keep me up at night. But as you're pointing out, Chocolate, it will keep them up at night, because it must be a bitch to be having to say, yes, we measure Earth flat, but that's because it's a really big ball. That must really pain them to say. And the reason there's a million edits in Dan's video, at first I was like, why are people criticising me for making loads of edits in this Dan video? I haven't made loads of edits. I mean, I've made edits. But then I went back through the video that I recorded from Dan, and it's absolutely riddled with edits. His original video. Because he obviously has to watch everything he says, and every second phrase that he uses is going to trip him up and make him sound bad. Like, it's measured flat because it's flat, but that doesn't mean it's flat. Nathan's just wrong. Oh, that doesn't sound quite right. I better edit that out. You know, there's a million edits in Dan's video, because it's really difficult to double speak your way around the fact you're measuring Earth flat. So, me, I can do it live. Half the time, I don't do any edits. I'm too lazy. I'll just chunk out 10 minutes of show and that'll be my video. Now I can go on camera without fear that if I stutter my way over a word, it's because I've got a bit of cotton mouth, as opposed to me having to cognitively process how, oh no, how am I going to explain the fact that we do measure Earth ball-shaped, but I've got to convince my audience that even though we do measure it ball-shaped, it's actually flat. I don't have that problem. I can end my discussion by going, it's measured flat. And that's really it. There's nothing really else to say. That's it. Oh, what, you measure it flat too, do you, Dan? Well, you better edit your video for about 4 hours, because you're going to have to get rid of the awfully telling sentences that he's obviously said, just like Miles the Liar Davis had to dispose of all of his very telling photographs when he went out with that 5 cameras at the Isle of Man. Well, did he come back with his phone camera? Yeah, because it was all very telling. Like Dan in his words when he comes to describing how Earth got measured by him. It was flat. So how are you going to describe that on a ball? Well, with great difficulty and a lot of edits. Me, this entire ramble came to you unedited. I don't lose
Isn't that
sleep.
why conspiracy cats is chasing ghosts now?
Chasing goats. Wouldn't surprise me.
Ghosts. You know, ghosts, spooky things.
Goats,
Right?
like the men who believe in staring at goats.
Ghosts.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if Conspiracy Cats
G-H-O-S-T.
is talking to goats now. That wouldn't surprise me one bit, Neil.
All right, forget it. He's chasing. He left the flat Earth arena because it horrified him.
And it don't look good. Who are you going to call? Conspiracy Cats!
Right, but he left the arena because it pained him. Didn't he speak about nightmares that he had?
I ain't afraid of no cats. Now
instead of cats, we got, what's his face there? McToon.
Mr. He tried to deflect with measurements.
Yeah.
That guy.
So conspiracy cats left because it was a horror to even think that if flat Earth is true, what else could be true?
That's not why he left. The reason he left
thought
was because he
that's
was
why he left.
pestered every single time. He followed the exact same pattern as the person he gave his channel to. So Toon has pestered me like a creepy stalker for ages. And all he does is pester me about his 10k challenge. And all I do is go, you measured Earth flat with elevation angles in your 10k challenge. And I counted them off, numbered them. Well, that's not something new. Where did I get inspiration to count off how many times I was telling Toon that he'd measure Earth flat with elevation angles? Oh, well, it was inspired by conspiracy cats being told no less than 125 times that you can't have gas pressure without a container. It violates the second law of thermodynamics. Gas would fill the space. Now, I'll just get back to that, right, cats? Now, I jokingly suggest that him saying, I'll give you a flat Earth for that perspective, end quote, conspiracy cats, is any worse than the without the container there can be no pressure, end quote, conspiracy cats. Yeah, like the awful truth about measuring Earth flat from Dan and Dave, conspiracy cats knew damn well that his religion was in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. So what does he do to compensate? Well, he's going to go and chase ghosts, isn't he? Yeah?
Yeah, and then Toon takes the channel over and screams, "Where are the guns?" Because you deflected with measurements.
Tried to.
Well, we know now that it was straight up projection because he was deflecting the guns when the
From
measurements were brought to his attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was deflecting from guns.
He was deflected from his own measurements.
I've got it the wrong way around. He was deflecting to guns from measurements.
Right.
There we go. Got it right
Exactly.
at the end.
He was deflecting, exactly, and accused you of deflecting. So it's projection, and it's very painful to them. And I don't think we're giving them enough compassion. I think we're just being a little too hard on them.
Right. Neil. I just want to say I welcome all of you guys, you know, like brothers now. Now that we all measure flat Earth together. Now that it's flat, you checked is in full effect. I can say with, you know, absolute confidence that I treat McToon and Dave and Dan, you're like my brothers. Now that we all measure Earth flat, you're like my brothers. I just want to say welcome. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Are you saying that you and those guys are the measurement bros?
Measurement what?
Bros.
Trolls? Yeah, I suppose so.
B-R-O-S.
T-R-O-S. I don't know what that means. Tros.
B-R-O-S.
Oh, the measurement bros. Like, yeah, bro, we measure Earth flat, bro. Yes, we are. That's correct. Yeah, me, Dave, Dan, Jaren, Toon, we're the measurement bros. Like this diagram on screen, I didn't make this. Very useful for demonstrating what they measured in Antarctica, or a Dan measured it 1,000 times. Right, straight, flat, angle to the sun. It's called an elevation angle. Yeah? And the, yahoo, measurement bros. We all measure Earth flat, don't we? The bros still do the wicked sign when you hold your middle two fingers with your thumb. Is that what you do? I call it the wicked. I use it to measure distance to microphones. How many wickeds? You know what I'm talking about? It's what will now get me accused of being a Satanist or a Freemason or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? Where you hold your middle fingers? Do people still do that? That's what you did in the 90s anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hold your hand out, all 5 fingers flat, and then curl in the middle 2 fingers. So you've just got your index finger and your middle finger still pointing up. Then put your thumb over those 2 fingers so that you've got what looks like a W. You know what I'm talking about?
Can't say I do. Hello.
Some people call it the devil horns. Some people call it the wicked.
Devil horns. Well, it could be that thing that they did in Mork and Mindy.
Nanu.
Yeah, he made some funny symbol, didn't he?
Nanu. Come in, Orson. Mork calling Orson.
Oh, calling Orson. Come in, Orson. I mean, that's when TV was TV. You had the Fonz facing off against a Martian.
Absolutely. That's when you could really commercialize manic depression. That's when it really worked.
Yeah, the Fonz had never been defeated before. Thank God it turned out to be just a dream.
Hill Street Blues did that.
Say again?
I'm saying Hill Street Blues didn't help with depression. My God, that was depressing.
I don't know what that is.
I never got into Hill Street Blues at all.
Is it an Irish show?
No, then it would be Hill Street Greens.
Why?
The color of the Irish.
It was a New York cop show.
The Irish are not green. You know that, right? Have you ever met anybody Irish? They're not green.
Listen, the Boston Celtics, their colors are green. Everything that's affiliated with Ireland, it's always green.
You're thinking of that Coldplay song, and it's yellow. So anyway, we were talking about the trade-off. So there's the trade-off. So if you align with the nonsense doublespeak that requires you measure the surface level to infer sphericity, then you will be praised and promoted algorithmically. You will see good fortune. Yeah? However, there's the trade-off. You don't get to sleep very well. You get to spit feathers and curse me, as an example. But me representing the people who point out how stupid it is to believe you're on a surface that's curving when it's measuring flat. And you get to curse me because you need to measure a flat earth to make your assertion make sense, and so on and so forth. So you get to lose sleep over that. Me, I get the opposite end. I get to sleep quite comfortably, but for the general stresses that everybody has. You know, I mean, I'm not alone in being poor. Most people are poor. Most people struggle. Most people are at their limits all day, every day. Even if they're earning good money. Like I see it on TikTok and YouTube shorts all the time, people moaning about how they're earning good money. They still can't make ends meet because the property has got so expensive or the cost of living's gone up so much. Whatever it may be, everybody's on the edge. I think the world is intended to be that way so that we never get anywhere near the elites. So therefore, I'm in the same boat as basically everybody else. In terms of how poor I am, I might be a little bit worse off, but on a scale of 1 to 1,000, if I'm at level 3 or 4, the next man might be at level 4 or 5, and the elites are at levels everything from 100 up. You know what I mean? So it's like moaning about being poor is silly, but what do you actually get here that there's a finite amount of? Because money you can get a bit more of, right? You can earn a bit more if you work a bit harder or a bit smarter. But you can't get any more time. So every second that they lose sleep in this trade-off, they're losing time to their concerns and worries about how they've got to measure Earth flat to believe it's a ball. We don't have such concerns, so I don't waste my free time worried about Dan or worried about Toon or worried about Dave. It literally doesn't get any of my time at all beyond the show. So that's the trade-off. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I was just going to say the problem with more money is unless you have a lot of money, you end up getting just a bigger loan to buy a more expensive thing. But you end up having to still pay that. It's just what changes with more money, unless you have a lot of money. The only thing that changes is the size of the loan you end up getting.
Yeah.
That's all that changes. Whether it be a mortgage, car loan, whatever.
I earned big money when I was a rep. I was earning decent money, and I was driving around in flash cars that got swapped every 3 years that were fast, and I was flying all over the world in Yves Saint Laurent shirts and nice tailored suits and handmade shoes, and everything that I owned and wore was expensive, and that was my life. The place I lived is the same now as it was then. But back then I managed to get out a mortgage for it. So I felt all posh, right? I came home to my apartment when I was single in my S5, and I'm like, I've just driven at 160 miles an hour all the way home. Awesome. Aren't I cool? Right? Now I'm almost penniless every single day. I worry about whether or not I'm going to pay the bills for the next hour, let alone at the moment it's pretty tight, so it's like a constant concern. But I'm in the same place. Now, because we haven't sold, when my wife was in the same position, she had a sports car. We've still got it. It's now 25 years old, and it's an absolute piece of shit. But we don't have to pay anything for it, right? So that piece of shit keeps us going. We can still drive the kids to their lessons. But for the fact that we pay for a load of kids' lessons and we're penniless all the time, the world doesn't change much. But which would I rather do, right? I could be sat on some horrible fart box aeroplane travelling to some Far East country to flog a load of my shiny boxes to somebody in some country that I don't really care about, but I just want them to buy my product. You know, if I can get 100 grand out of this next man, then I'll get praised. Maybe I'll get a bonus, and maybe I'll get an even more expensive car. At one point, right, and this isn't any word of a lie, I was trying to negotiate to get a Ferrari as a company car, and I'd put this notion to my boss, and I'm like, I'm worth it. And he was like, obviously, he was like, you've got to be having a laugh. I'm like, no. Seriously, look at the numbers. They do actually work. And I went through my big folder, and he went, my God, Nathan, if you put as much work into some of the clients as you have into this folder for this car. I'm like, oh, that one sentence ruined everything. And I ended up getting an S5. But what I wanted was a Ferrari. That's what I was negotiating for. But where would the Ferrari have been parked? Exactly the same shitty spot outside here, wouldn't it? If I'd have got it. Now, I only wanted it because my wife had paid for me to go around in Ferraris a few times, right, around the track, and I was quite impressed. And I was like, yeah, I could have one of these. And then it's like, well, I can make this a reality with it being a company car. I'm sure I can wangle this that it's less expensive than your average company run around that I would have had, right? Because I had to make a good impression with an expensive product. So there's kind of an expectation to have a nice car. So I was like, I mean, how would it look with us having the most expensive product on the market with me turning up in a Ferrari? I mean, nothing screams wealth like waste. Come on, let me have a Ferrari. That was my sales pitch. It didn't work. My point is, life doesn't really change much, right? Where I'm now is I sleep easier now, not knowing that tomorrow, when I was doing that job, I had to get up and I had to actually put the work in and generate new clients and bring new dealers on and get new distributors. And I had to go out and find clients in countries that hadn't got distribution of our product. It was hard work. And I could make it seem like I was James frickin' Bond. It's how I got my wife, as she timing's perfect as she walks in, right? But at the time that I pulled my wife, on paper, I was James Bond. I was flying all over the country, and I was in music studios dealing with the rich and famous, and what else could you possibly sell yourself more with, right? But did it change? She's rustling the keys or trying to be quiet. Good job I got this microphone today. You off out, hun? Yeah. Where are you going? Come on. Home ed class for my youngest daughter. Anyway, now, is anything different? Yeah, life's easier. You might think, well, you're in the most stressful job in the world, right? You're constantly ridiculed and chastised and put down as the minority of idiots. Yeah, that's true. But actually, in the discussion that we have, I'm right and I can't be wrong. That's very comforting. Very, very comforting. And for all the secret Gamma Kings out there, you do actually get to feel a little bit of that initially. And that is a selling point. I'm never going to deny that people like that as much as I would hate to admit to it myself. You're like, I've now got this secret knowledge. Because you have. Everybody else doesn't know and you do. There's no other way of looking at it. And that kind of is a little bit empowering initially, but that wears off pretty quick. But in terms of what the end result is, when you get to the general medium that most people find themselves in, even if you win the lottery, emotionally and mentally you're on a high, but it's very temporary. In other words, you will reach a plateau and it won't be higher than where you were originally before you won the lottery. It'll be the same. Yeah, you always find that plateau. But that plateau can come with massive amounts of stress that you deal with and cope with, like when I was out and about flying and jet setting and being a rep with a high-powered and high-paid job, to the actually I'm just raising kids at home and homeschooling them with a work-at-home job and my wife's working part-time. And, you know, you could look at that as, well, you're kind of lazy. You're like, well, actually, I've never worked harder in my life, but I sleep like a baby and I don't have a boss. And I'm really poor, but I don't have a boss. You know what I mean? And the people who oppose me, I laugh at because they're wrong. And I can demonstrate it every single time they enter into discussion with me. And with every day that passes, the stress that was previously now seeming a bit stupid, all the anger and aggression with all those fundies over the last, let's say, 8 years, what was the point? Right? It was totally unnecessary, wasn't it? Right, we were right all along. It wasn't needed. I didn't need to shout at any of them, did I?
No, I think with this topic and this subject, on our side of the fence, the only way is up. We weren't really seeing it that way as a collective. Whereas on their side, the only way is down. You know, kind of way, because we can't lose. That kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And when it comes to those sorts of things, there's a collective treatment that people get, and the world is fickle. I try and be that way in terms of I'll obey my own self. You know, I know what I think, and I will be myself, and all those sorts of hippie, stupid notions. But I mean it, right? But the way that society is fickle, like they'll praise you and hold you up, but they'll chastise you and tear you down in a heartbeat, just as quickly. Yeah? Well, so long as you obey, I said this a couple of shows ago, carefully you trample on your way up, because you might have to climb back over them on the way back down again. Yeah? Well, that is how I would be concerned that it might go if I was someone like Simon Dan. Jaron now sits in this group, right? Because he did all along, like you were all telling me, and I just didn't want to believe. Well, those people then have to assess themselves. Okay, well, I've got up this high, but I now know I'm wrong. As opposed to us just knowing we're right and sleeping easy because of it. When you know you're wrong, that's pretty intimidating. Like self-mentally, whatever the word is for that. You know, when you internalize these things, that's what I was calling on the show a bitch, right? That's got to be painful. Yeah, knowing you're right means you get to be poor in flat Earth. Knowing you are wrong, which a lot of our opponents do, means you get to be rich. You get to, you might get to go skydiving and buy a new car. But I've had those things, and which would I rather? Well, I'm here by choice. I'm still here. Strictly speaking, this is the longest I've ever been employed. Right, this as a job, I've paid the mortgage with this longer than any other job that I've ever had. I've had a lot. I got fired a lot, but I wasn't a very good employee. I hated working for the man. But working for myself, I've sustained myself for a much longer period than any of the jobs I've held working for the man. Now, that's great, and strictly speaking, there's always someone doing better than you. And in the case of this comparison, it's going to be the Dans and the Daves and the Gerons, right? But they know they're wrong. Yeah? Now, narcissists, they don't care. There's going to be a few of them amongst them that just don't care. That's not what they're about. They don't have the empathy to have it concern them. So once you strike them out, the remainder are the ones that are just wrong. And at some point, they get to find out that they're just wrong. Like we did in reverse. We get to find out at some point we're just right, we're just correct. Even if you up until that point, suspended in the belief of flat Earth, which is where they want to keep people, right? With the controlled opposition narrative that we call the Feast of Nonsense. That's where they want to keep you. In a belief of a flat Earth. And have that belief be based on things that you can tear down pretty quickly, like an AE map. Because then you can disband all those people who just held a belief. When you make them realise that, oh no, you just had a belief in flat Earth, didn't you? We are different to that. We got to, along this journey, realise that we were right. Dan, Dave, Jaron, Toon. Toon more than anyone, right? He's going to be the poster child for this because he's going nuts, and it's with good reason. He's wearing it right on his sleeve. Now, he probably doesn't even realise this, does he? Which is why it's so hysterical.
No, they never do. No.
No, they don't. You can't, can you? It's like being Dunning-Kruger. You can't know. But yeah, he's finding out how wrong he is, and it's sending him nuts. And every chaff and redirect he sends out, it's still written all over every wrinkle of his creepy face. His frustration, his anger, right? It's seething out of him. For me, it's dissolving over time as opposed to increasing. Like we're on the way down from being chastised and ridiculed and the fury and anger and hatred that generates, because from a societal level, you're hated. But then when you realise from an argument point of view, you couldn't lose, you suddenly, you feel a bit silly. Why did I argue? That's why I was trying to get across the last week. I was like, it feels like a waste of time. And Adam's like, no, you've had a journey of discovery and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm trying to get across. What I mean by that is my frustrations and anger were a waste of time. I could never have lost, could I? I could never have lost.
No, you were in a position the whole time.
No, it's impossible. That's the thing. It's just about as you said, about belief. Like, to keep people in a belief, they'll never know that they're actually going to be in a position of winning, or that they're in a position they can't lose, kind of thing.
Yeah, clever, innit? If you can make flat earthers believe in a flat earth, then they're in a position to lose.
We were always in a position of reality, and we did not even pick up on it.
But did you not pick up on how profound what Brian just said was? He's saying that if you can make what is a fact, in this case, Earth, and it being flat by demonstration and measurement, if you can turn that into a belief can be eradicated, destroyed, overturned, shown to be wrong, have a different argument put up against it. So if you can make flat Earth that, then you win, because you can control how that argument against the belief takes place. In essence, we're giving a more refined description to the Feast of Nonsense and what it is and what it achieves, its ends.
Hold on a second. How are you going to... Wait, I'm confused now. Because how are you going to make something that's a reality, a measurement, a belief? What are we talking about here?
What, by making it tied to things that aren't necessarily to do with the surface of Earth. So where we would cry foul on the globe as a reification fallacy, you need to create that same reification fallacy for your opponent. Well, in the case of the Antarctic nonsense that we recently encountered, they did it with the azimuthal equidistant North Pole centric globe projection. That becomes flat Earth.
I see what you're saying. I got you now.
Right, so then you can fight against that belief instead of arguments.
Right, but they could never contest or fight against real measurements.
No, they needed to use those. So you need to keep the actual measurements of Earth, flat or otherwise, neutral. So that when they're being discussed, like back, if you listen past 5 years ago to the debates, maybe more than that, just before Black Swan, say 6 years ago, you'll hear Baller preface their discussion with things like sea level. You said it earlier on today's show, Neil, right? Sea level, that's it, game over. Yeah, you're right. But go back and listen to when, in discussion, they get away with utilisation of surface level or sea level as part of their argument. That's making the measurement of Earth and the flat measurement of Earth seem neutral. Like, well, we don't have to actually argue about the measurements of Earth that are flat. What we have to do is figure out if the measurements of Earth that are flat work with a flat Earth or not. But you don't say it that way. You just keep the actual measurements as neutral as possible so that nobody ever attacks them. So that's why everyone absolutely hates me at the moment, because I'm taking it back to the basic neutral measurements that are flat and going, I'll just stay here then. No, we have to all accept that Earth's measured flat, neutrally, and then start fighting. Well, what if I just stay back here at this hut where we all decided that Earth was going to be measured flat before we start fighting? I'll just stay here at the hut. You can all fuck off and fight on the battlefield. I'll sit here and eat this cake, laughing at you. Because we decided before we left the hut that it was going to be measured flat in all the discussions and debates. So if it's always going to be measured flat in all discussions and debates, that means it's because it's measured flat, right? Oh, yeah, both sides accept that it's measured flat. Locally. I mean, of course, why wouldn't we? There's negligible curvature to measure, so why wouldn't we accept that? Now let's get out there and fight about whether or not it's ball-shaped. No, let's just stop. So we all accept the flatness measurements. Yeah? Okay, I accept them. Get out there and fight, you bunch of loonies. I'll stay here.
That's why we're public enemy number one. I was just about to say that, because we are talking about what they don't want to be talked about.
Funny how when Dan said, we don't only measure Earth flat.
Yeah, we don't only
we did hear him. We did hear how he measured Earth flat, but we didn't hear the other part where because if you say we don't only, that means you also measure it Earth. We didn't hear that part in the video. Maybe there'll be a part 2 coming out or something. I'll stand by.
No, that's no. Me just saying it is what we measure is me, Nathan Oakley, denying the globe model that would apply the measurements to. Like I say, back at the hut, we're all agreeing that we'll measure Earth flat. But me then saying that we're going to just take those measurements as read and stop there is me denying the model that we could apply those flat Earth measurements to, says Dan. I mean, it's my model denial that we're really dealing with here, Chocolate. I mean, you're just stupid. You don't understand.
Remember, Nathan,
at least in that respect, that no one can blame you for trying to push a model, because there you go. You got Dan saying that you're denying the model. Well, yes, we are. We just go with the measurement. We don't need a model.
But this is the point, right? If you want to control a narrative, then you need to create the opposing side and the side that fights for what is seen to be truth and righteousness. And then you let them fight amongst each other. And then you just let the people who control cartography carry on measuring Earth flat neutrally. And if the world ever does understand and appreciate how Earth gets measured, because both sides are measuring it the same, they might both simultaneously, that's me and Dan, stop fighting and look around and go, hang on a second, so we both agree that Earth's measured flat. Well, then what's the problem? Well, the problem is that you've got a stupid religion that says otherwise. You, Dan, not me. So at which point you can now either bugger off and go and find out why you had this stupid religion, which is where a lot of flat earthers start, right? Oh, well, I must go and march on NASA. Nah, you don't have to do that. Right, what would be worse for them is if you turned your back on them. Then they'd have no power at all because you wouldn't care. But I mean, like Neil's been pointing out, that's where the people who are watching the show and want to tell us and be in the teacher role get annoyed with me when I say, oh, I don't care what you've got to teach me anymore. We've got the measurements now. You telling me that I don't understand how the measurements have got a correction from a surface level that actually means axiomatically it's what it isn't measured as, means that I'm stupid and need to listen to you tell me how you're the teacher. Get lost. We don't need you. We've got flat earth measurements. Very annoying to them.
Remember when I was told the story a few times about how I switched over and how I did it within 8 seconds? Because I knew at that point, because I suppose I had a more unique position, because I did a good bit of traveling before that and on flights, but also spent a lot of time on the water, on boats and small boats. And when the obey says that the horizon always appears to rise to eye level, that was the end of that. I said that, it immediately hit me. Right? There's no way around that for me. But after that, it was only about how you would show it to people, how you would get other people to realize it, or do you know what I mean? How you relay the information. You know what I mean? Because I could say that same thing to people. Now, if someone said that to you, you just go, yeah, that can only happen. That can't happen within a paradigm where there's a sphere and all this sort of stuff. That can't happen within that. No, that can only happen within a different situation. But
or to put it the Kiwi way, you can't have a horizon on a ball tard.
Well, you can't. Well, for a start, it can't be a horizon because it can't be horizontal. And secondly, it can't appear to rise as you rise with it, or as you rise, it can't appear to as if it's rising with you. That can't happen. So there's certain. It's just like it was just a kind of an understanding of the geometry of it. It's like that can't happen. End of story. But it's this kind of calmness because I always kind of had, because it was like, yeah, I never felt that I was wrong. I always knew I was right from that moment on. It was a case of how do you get the point across, and how do you get past all the people who are trying to get in your way. But that's the thing about it, like we can't. It's the only way is up for us, but for our opposition, Tune and all them, the only way is down. They can't go up. They can only go down. We can only go up because we've been at the bottom for so long.
Going down requires a horizontal plane of reference.
That's what happens when you try to place geometry on an optical phenomenon, right? You kind of start driving yourself a little crazy.
You can't go down on a ball. You can only go in or out, right?
Yeah, into the center or out from the surface. There is no up or down. That requires a plane of reference, horizontal plane of reference. If you don't have that, can't describe it that way.
But yeah, when they come to use it, they'll want to rage against people like us who say things like, well, it just is what you measure. They want to say, no, I want to measure it ball-shaped. I can't, so I'll make do with measuring it flat, calculating it ball-shaped, and then hoping that no one noticed the flat Earth measurement that we made in the first place and always had made. Because these idiots say that it just is what we measure. And yes, we measure it flat, but that doesn't mean it's flat. Okay? Hope we're all clear.
Yeah, Dan, that's what you sound like.
Sound like someone who understands big balls. Don't you understand big balls, Chocolate? There's negligible curvature on big balls. It's perfectly acceptable to measure a big ball flat as we measure Earth flat because it's a big ball and there's negligible curvature on the big ball we measure flat. Obviously.
And that's how big balls work.
Exactly how big balls work. See, now you're getting it. Yeah, I knew you weren't dumb.
Thanks.
Now, if, on the other hand, you point out that we measure Earth flat at any stage and then don't continue to say, but that's because it's a really big ball, then you will be chastised. It's perfectly okay to say we measure Earth flat in a very soft tone very quickly, so long as you then say that's because it's a really big ball. And make sure that the focus of what you say is on the second part and not the first part. Say the first part fast. We measure Earth flat because it's a really, really big ball with negligible curvature. But curvature, definitely. Negligible, maybe, but definitely curvature after we measure Earth flat. Say the second bit about measuring Earth flat quite quickly and slowly. Quite quickly
That's
and
it, right?
quickly and quietly.
That's it, right? The second part's you gotta flower it up. You gotta build it up, make it all nice, you know. The first part real quick. Oh, it's measure flat. Don't worry about that.
Yes, sometimes surveyors use flat approximations for convenience. Because it's a really big ball. Obviously.
But don't they hear what they're saying?
Yeah, that's why they get to get the big bucks but lose the sleep. They get to say, yes, we measure it Earth flat. Yes, local surveyors use flat approximations when they survey Earth flat. But that's because it's a really big ball, Neil. Have you seen my Raycon headphones? Affiliate links below. Yes, we use straight line distances for convenience. Warhammer is a new first-person shooter available from the App Store. Links below. Anyway, those stupid flat earthers saying it just is flat because we measure it flat, obviously they're idiots. I mean, what kind of an idiot would say it just is flat because we measure it flat? A smart person says we measure it flat because there's negligible curvature. Who's going to use spherical trig at those scales? Idiots. Of course we measure it flat at those scales. Nobody's using spherical trig at those stupid small 50-kilometre scales. Of course we measure it flat. Because it's a really, really big ball.
That was always
Spherical trick.
that was
What's
always
that?
one of my favorite
Wouldn't you want to
parts.
use that over 50k, Neil? Idiot. Idiot flat earther. Yes, we use flat approximations over 50k, Neil. It's perfectly acceptable to use normal trig over such small distances where there's such negligible curvature. Then we can measure Earth flat all day long, you stupid idiot.
That was always one of my favorite words that ballers would use to describe curvature when you would ask them where it is. Oh, it's negligible. That kind of sounds like it's not there. Whenever you use that word, it seems like it's not there, which is why you're using that word. Very strange.
Why would it be there, you stupid flat earther? We're only measuring a 50 kilometre part of Earth flat. Why would you expect to see Earth's curvature in all its glory on a massive scale when we're just measuring a tiny little bit of a flat Earth? I mean, you stupid flat earthers think just because we measure Earth flat, it's flat. Idiot. No. It's not flat just because we measure it flat, and we don't only measure Earth flat. Also measure it, well, we don't, we calculate it ball-shaped, but, you know, I can make that basis assertion. And still, idiot, why would we expect to measure curvature? It's negligible over such small distances that we're measuring Earth flat with. Perfectly acceptable to use normal trick. Wouldn't we?
But ships go over the horizon hole first.
That's different. No, we need to measure Earth flat at surface level for those sorts of calculations. It's a different calculation. I'm talking about when we survey and chart Earth, like for building stuff. Then it's flat. But obviously we wouldn't want to measure it anything other than flat when we're surveying it over 50k. It's negligible curvature then. I mean, if you're going to assume that we've got a ball below the surface level, we're going to measure flat for a parallel eye level and our height above it, then we've got a distance to geometric horizon below the surface level we're measuring flat at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height off a flat Earth. But that's different. We're building on Earth when we measure it flat over 50k and describe the lack of curvature as being negligible. That's a different lack of curvature. The lack of curvature at the flat Earth that we measure our height off, that's when we're extrapolating a distance in a orthographic view on paper, Neil. That's a different type of Earth curve that we're not seeing at surface level in those maths versus the 50k of flat Earth that we're definitely measuring flat, because why wouldn't we? There's negligible curvature, you dumb flat earther.
What happens when you reach
that
the...
Earth is too big to measure. So that's why I'm saying, but you're telling me that the boats go over the horizon hole first, but it's too big to measure. So which one is it?
No, we measure it and survey it flat, locally, because there's negligible curvature, until I need to measure my height off a flat surface level and then extrapolate out a point below the flat surface level I measured my height off for a parallel eye level that can't be violated in an orthographic view where you see the side of your own head. Then we've got an Earth curvature that only exists in the maths that's below the surface level that we measured flat for our height off it, Neil.
Happens when you reach the edge of the 50 key.
Say again, Sasha.
What happens when you reach the edge of the 50 key?
The 50p?
No, 50 kilometers, what you said locally. When you reach that edge, do you again measure 50 kilometers of the local flatness?
Yeah, we did this earlier. So what you're saying, Sasha, as a question is, after surveyors measure Earth flat, pause.
Yeah.
Just pause. For 50 kilometres. Okay, so we'll just summarise the first bit of this question. So we've measured Earth flat. You want to know what happens after?
Yeah.
Why?
Is it another 50 kilometers of
oh right, I see what
local
you're asking.
Flatness?
From what I understand, Sasha, when you go and train to be a surveyor, yeah? From what I understand, and my experience is, it's fairly, I've got a fair amount of experience with surveyors. I used to recruit for them. Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors were one of my clients back in the day when I was a recruitment consultant. So I've got a reasonable amount of experience. I mean, I would basically class myself as a chartered surveyor based on what I've just said, based on the Globe Tard standards that they typically use. I'm not. But based on my limited understanding, they weren't limited to any specific area. Once they start in any given area, they'll always measure Earth flat, and it might have a limitation, that might be, for the sake of argument, maybe 50 kilometres. But it doesn't mean that they can't, like, literally the next day, get on an aeroplane, fly in straight and level flight across the sea level at a measured altitude, obeyed by the ground control giving an order to remain at a certain flight level, and then land somewhere else, and then again measure Earth in exactly the same way that they were trained and paid to measure Earth flat with. So really the area that they're measuring locally is kind of irrelevant. Regardless of where they are, they always measure Earth flat. Earth's flat everywhere. Surveyors are surveying Earth. There aren't any exceptions to that last statement, just so we're clear.
I get it. That means around London, 50 kilometers is flat. Around Coventry, 50 kilometers is flat. Around Birmingham, 50 kilometers is flat. Or around all cities are 50 kilometers flat. But it's curving somewhere else.
No, the last part, no. It's not curving somewhere else.
I don't know. Okay.
That only
According
exists
to
in the
them, it
maths.
is.
No, that only exists in the maths, end quote, the rumpus. And I can show you the flat Earth that's measured and therefore doesn't exist in terms of your assertions of curvature, because there's a flat Earth being measured in the maths that asserts that curvature. So the curvature only exists in the maths, end quote, the rumpus. There is no curvature on Earth. It only exists in maths.
That would be only if you on one place it's measured 50 kilometers flat.
Measured the same everywhere. I just went through this like 20 seconds ago.
I know. That's the wrong thing. How can measure everywhere 50 flat and it's curved? I'm saying if it's flat only in one place, then maybe it's curving on all other places.
No, like I keep saying, the way it's measured by the surveyors when they measure Earth, survey Earth, it's flat. And there's no getting away with that. That's how they're taught to deal with Earth.
I was looking up, how do you prove that Earth is a sphere? And one of them said through scientific inquiries.
That's wrong.
I can prove you easily that, Neil. Take a basketball. I move the distance from the basketball from point A to point B, and then I see the height above the drop over distance, and then I tell you. It's easy.
Okay. That sounds like you were measuring a basketball to me.
Yeah, that's how you measure the sphere. If you want to measure drop over distance, it's easy.
The way we measure Earth, however, regardless of how we measure spheres, is flat.
Yeah, Earth must be a sphere to be measured the same like a basketball.
Yeah, but I did not ask for measurements. I said proof. And I was told through scientific inquiry. So they're in a category error right from jump, and they don't even know it.
Yeah, they do. That's why they'll say science doesn't prove shit.
Well, science has evolved, Chalk. Don't you know that?
Has it really? The method to establish cause of an effect that's evolved. Do tell.
That's superseded.
That's old and busted. How are you supposed to make any claims about anything in outer space if you're just using a scientific method?
Category error.
Spectroscopy.
It's a category error.
Why make claims about a place that cannot exist?
Well, we all know we live in a solar system.
Again, that sounds very painful to do things like that. Like right under claiming that it's flat, but then it's also curved. That sounds painful. It also sounds painful to make claims in a place that doesn't exist.
Science proves the globe, and then in the next breath, science doesn't prove things. That's the idiots we're dealing with.
You dumb flat earthers, science doesn't prove things. Only proves the globe, though.
Honestly, I'm so glad I was here for that transition. Just to hear it come out of their mouths many times that science proves things, and then the same people would say, "Oh, it doesn't prove anything." Like that. That was great. I'm so glad I was here for that.
To be fair, my son was saying that way before I even got into flat Earth, like in 2008 or 9. He was saying, science doesn't prove things; it only disproves.
Which is proving something.
If you disprove something, don't you actually prove something else?
The curvature one can only be calculated because when you understand big globes, you must measure them flat and then calculate for the curve. Because the curve always seems to be where you can't see and experience.
Yes, the mumbling Irishman is correct. In order to
You
do
don't
science,
understand big globe.
in order to do science, you first measure Earth flat. That's how you calculate the globe. That's science.
That is, in a sentence or as a statement, the culmination of the globe right there. What Nathan just said.
Say it again.
To understand that measuring Earth flat to calculate the sphericity of the surface, that is the essence of science, Neil.
But that's what they're saying, though, right? It's weird.
Yeah, you can stick and shadow your way to science, Neil. All you need is a flat Earth and a dream.
You just need 1,000 elevation angles from all across the flat plane.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, that video was actually pretty great, to be honest with you. The more I listen to it, more I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Really what it is Dan started having to go at Nathan, and Nathan staying this measure flat and having to go at flat measurements. The measurements of the Earth as being measurements of a flat Earth, basically, for your description. And when Nathan, let's just say, barked back at him, he decided to double down and come out with 1,000 measurements of horizontal plane. It's like they just don't know when to just shut up. You know what I mean? They don't know when to back off. And they end up, the only way they can go forward is to go further down into that dark hole. They don't know when just to say, it's time for me to shut up here now. They can't do that.
Because it's painful, Brian. Imagine the pain that Simon Dan has when he has to actually agree with Nathan in his own video. Right? Imagine how painful that is. That it's his sworn enemy, I guess. And he's got to agree with him numerous times in the same video. Like, come on.
Well, imagine the arguments that he's having now with the people on his own side. Chocolate. Came out to them having a go at him for saying what he said. Sorry, someone's going to come in.
No, well, I was just going to say something sarcastic.
Well, their new catchphrase, Nathan, for you is Earth is measured flat, but you can't have that if you're talking about a 24-hour Antarctic sun, whatever that means.
So what they're saying is, yeah, Earth's measured flat with elevation angles, but you can't have the flat Earth elevation angles we measured because it doesn't work with the azimuthal equidistant globe projection. Therefore, you can't have the flat Earth that we measured flat. Correct?
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Okay. Like I say, they can argue with that all day. So, yes, Earth's measured flat, but the flat Earth that we measure doesn't work with a flat Earth. Okay. Yeah, you lads enjoy your time in the asylum.
Yeah, what they're saying there, let me have a go at it as well, see if I can improve on it or maybe equal what Nathan said. Earth is measured flat, but you can't have that. And we know that because we measured elevation angles to the sun for 24 hours. Sure, yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
again, in years gone by, I'd have been concerned about, look, do you understand that you're accepting our position? But that would be me giving a tacit acceptance that there's still a debate to have. And there isn't.
Yep.
You can believe all you like that, yes, we measure Earth flat, but because the flat Earth angles don't work with the globe projection, guys, you're nuts. Seriously. Have a word. Get a grip.
Yeah, we're better off just laughing at them because it's laughable. This is what their religion will do to them.
See, now you guys are catching on.
I wonder what harebrained scams they're coming up with next, or schemes they're coming up with next. Like, they always come out with some complete and utter nonsense that they think has some validity or power to it, don't they? You know what? Like, it's every couple of months there's some new heap of nonsense that they think is some smart argument. Like, what was their argument against besides saying Gabok refraction, but or whatever it was? Besides saying that with the black swan, then they come out with some nonsense where the black swan was a fallacy. It's just some stupid thing like that.
Yeah. They call it
I
the
can't
black
remember
swan
what it was.
fallacy.
They are comedians, man. Okay, when you take a step back and just have a look at them, they are comedians. The stuff they get up there.
Was that kosher or unorthodox that was claiming the black swan fallacy?
Unorthodox.
What?
Yeah, and he was serious.
Or as he's known to say, 50.
And what was it? Anyone remember what the details were? Like, what was the fallacy part? Was it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what is it? All swans are white. If you find one black swan, then you can no longer say all swans are white, right? So if we have one horizon that is not where they say it's supposed to be, right? Then it's over. But that is even old and busted.
I think it was the fallacy was that we were ignoring the claimed white swans. So that made the black swan. It wasn't it? It was like
So what you're saying is by taking part of the fallacy, which is Karl Popper's example, the literal black swan fallacy, which is you can take as many white swans as you like, but as soon as you show one black swan, the assertion that all swans are white is debunked. So in the case of geometric physical sphere edges for horizons, you've only got to show once that it isn't physical, and that's the end of the discussion. But they're saying you're ignoring all these times that it is physical. What white swans in your mind now exist? So you're saying that when we see the horizon in a position that it's been calculated with surface level, that means it is a physical horizon now, and we're ignoring your examples where the horizons match the maths that measures your height off a flat Earth. Okay, again, back then it seemed like a reasonable position to start feeling like you've got to educate your opponent on how they're beating their own face in with a shovel when they say refraction, or white swan fallacy, like you're ignoring all the measurements of Earth that are a spherical measurement. No. You're calculating that sphericity with an Earth that's measured flat for your height off it. But they don't know that.
Well,
It's Dunning-Kruger, isn't it?
yeah, well, if you think about it, like their response to the black swan was that the horizon is always refracted because right now it's not what they're calling refraction. Obviously, is not refraction, but that's what they have to claim, and it's even within their maths in metabolic. You have the 7/6 horizon, right? That they always have to add, and more than 7/6. But the point being is that when one of them, not only was it stupid because when whoever it was, unorthodox, whoever, was saying you're ignoring all the white swans, it's like you're missing the point completely. Right, right. That's how does that make the black swan fallacious? Right. Number one. Number two is your response to the black swan is the geometric horizon is only in the maths. So where are these white swans then that we're saying to be ignoring when you're claiming that they're all black swans, which means the real black swan, as I said before, and Kiwi agreed with me, but the real one would be a close geometric edge, wouldn't it? That would be the real black swan.
If their argument was to work, what you're saying is for them to have an argument that was a winning argument, they'd have to show an actual physical measurement of an edge. That would then become their black swan because they've got an end to the argument in the form of a physical measurement of an Earth that's spherical. Now, they haven't got that, but that's what they'd need. That would be a real black swan.
Yeah, because that would then constitute as a real black swan, because even within their own responses to the black swan, their claim is that their geometric edge only exists in the maths. So that means, and the second, that's implying, and also they added in, all horizons, right, within their paradigm are always claimed refractive. That means there is no geometric edge, right? That's what they had to do because the black swan showed this to them. But then to come back and say you're ignoring all the white swans is completely 180 degrees in opposition to their initial response to the black swan. And then to say that that made the black swan fallacious. I mean, the level of genius on that side is phenomenal.
It takes guts just to state something like that, doesn't it?
No, you get to those places through cognitive dissonance and stress. You know, it sounds stupid when you have it pointed back to you, but when you're trying to figure out 50 different ways of making your stupid religion work, it's like cats saying, well, I'll give you a flat earth for that. At some point, you miss the cognitive break, and then it gets leveraged by people like us, going, all right, so you need a flat earth for it. Yeah, you do. You don't, you know, it's hard. That's what I'm saying. That's the trade-off. They have to mentally work really hard, and when they do that, they end up sounding stupid, because they are being stupid by ignoring the obvious and simple fact of measurement when they try and, you know, rationalise the measurements of Earth. Why are you rationalising this measurement?
Yeah, because it's a heavy indoctrination. Listen, still being taught in schools. How many people in this great flat Earth of ours think we're spinning around right now and orbiting a solar system? I mean, are part of a solar system orbiting the sun. Nothing's going to change until parents start going up and demanding, why are my children being taught this? Or maybe the book will ruffle some feathers.
I reckon they're cracking before any book comes out, to be honest with you. Neil. I reckon they're under us. They're cracking at the present time.
I thought I reloaded.
Yeah, I think you're right. They got to be cracking because this is getting out there. If you just I just pulled up a video from somewhere, and I think it was I googled something. I pulled up a video, right? And the amount of comments in this video that were against what this person was talking about pertaining to our solar system. I mean, it's out there. Not just us anymore.
Right, I'm going to round out with that. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.